shop.
There appears to be a rift this morning between the family of the late singer and Cook County Commissioner Jerry Butler and caretakers. The sons of the music giant known as the Iceman say the person who has their father's power of attorney scheduled a wake and funeral without their involvement.
It's like you're doing this on purpose. You know, you are doing it on purpose. It's not right.
The caretaker has a planned wake today, but the family has scheduled a public memorial for the R&B singer for March 12. Proposed legislation that would create oversight requirements on homeschooling is being denounced in Springfield. The Homeschool Act would require parents to keep in contact with school administrators and mandate curriculum choices. State Representative Brandon Schweizer says regulations are a direct infringement on parental rights.
This legislation is being sold as a protection of children measure, but in reality, it is just placing another unnecessary burden on our families and on our education system here in Illinois.
Several legislators have chimed in saying there's no reason to enact legislation to fix a problem that simply doesn't exist. Well, here's some bad news this morning. The village of Itasca announcing it will not host its annual 4th of July fireworks celebration this year. It's annually one of the best in the nation. According to the village, the display, which has been held in Itasca for nearly 3 decades, will not take place this year due to nearby major construction. The display is usually held at the Hamilton Lakes Business Park in the 500 block of East Devon, but officials say because of that construction, the schedule will not allow the fireworks to take place. Kobe White had a career night. Oh, man, did he ever. Bulls beat the Magic 125-123. Kobe White had 44 last night, including the bucket that put the Bulls up for good in the win. Blackhawks go for their 3rd win in a row when they host Utah at the UC tonight. NHL trade deadline is here. Teams have until 3 p.m. Eastern to make any last-minute deals, and the Hawks are likely to be dealing. Fighting Illini wrap up their men's regular season with a game against number 18 Purdue tonight. In the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, a little arch madness. Illinois State beat Missouri State, and Valparaiso took down UIC. Spring baseball, Cubs surrendered 12 hits in a loss to the Royals. White Sox lost to the Giants yesterday, 7-3. Wyndham Clark on top after round 1 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. Girls high school basketball state finals tomorrow. In 3A, St. Ignatius will take on Montini. And in 4A, we'll find out more as Kenwood faces Alton and Loyola Academy battles Fremd in Normal in the semifinals. High school guys have sectional finals tonight. The news service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees craziness in Germany.
And I want you to hear 60 Minutes.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
It is.
And it's...
Yes, it is. No, yes. It's a crime to insult somebody in public in Germany. And CBS is suggesting that would be good here.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
I saw a T-shirt recently, and it said, "Too much of anything is bad unless we're talking about bacon." Now, we can debate all day long about the points of bacon. However, portion control is a good thing. That can also be said about your retirement accounts. Too much risk when you could be burdened down by a down market. Too conservative, and maybe you can't take that Alaskan cruise you've been saving for. Tom Fortuna and the people of Alpha Wealth Group understand portion control. He can balance a retirement plan with levels of protection and risk designed specifically to your needs. And if you don't want risk at all, he can do that as well. Just simply call for a free discovery meeting. You can call him today at 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711. You may not find that right balance between a pound of bacon and a pound of kale, but you can find the balance between worrying about your retirement and enjoying your retirement. Find out for yourself by giving Tom Fortino a call at 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
She's gone from reporting on the sidelines to making sense of the headlines. It's the Michelle Tafoya podcast.
The media is trying to lampoon this group. Yes, they are. They're calling them a bunch of 19-year-olds in hoodies. People go to war as soon as they're 18. You're okay with that. But a 19-year-old genius trying to help the Treasury save money? Oh, God forbid.
Subscribe to the Michelle Tafoya podcast today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Attention American homeowners, you're under attack. Your home and equity could be vulnerable to cyber thieves. There's only one company that completely stops them, and that company is Equity Protect. Equity Protect prevents any attempts to steal your home, equity, and ownership 24/7. Get your free risk report today by texting the word HOME to 94878. That's right, text the word HOME to 94878 to get your free risk report. Keep your equity and legacy safe with Equity Protect.
5:12. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time, a service of Rapid Radios. Business owners can keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping. Kennedy inbound, an accident being cleared inbound at Adams. Outbound Kennedy, an accident. Couple of cars into the wall. Outbound right at Cumberland. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. And the latest with AccuWeather, Steve Williams.
Some snow at times today, 1 to 2 inches. That rain could mix in anytime. Accumulations mostly non-paved surfaces, high 37. Slippery areas tonight, clear, low 25. Sunny tomorrow, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Snow's on the way, but right now for us, clouds and 35. Your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answers starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher inviting you to join me on the Patriots Alaska Cruise this summer, along with Larry Elder, Joe Piscopo, Jennifer Horn. Enjoy Alaska's breathtaking beauty like never before. Text the keyword travel to 94878 to reserve your stateroom today. This luxury trip is your chance to experience majestic scenery, patriotism, adventure. We sail August 16th through the 23rd. Reserve your stateroom today. Text travel to 94878. That's travel to 94878.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling and tell them AM 560 sent you to receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. The House Judiciary Committee just held hearings on so-called sanctuary city, bringing in various mayors trying to justify their policies. I say so-called sanctuary cities because that is the Orwellian term for what should be called nullification cities. These mayors are nullifying federal law. Liberals used to oppose such doctrines in the name of protecting all of our civil rights. Recall Martin Luther King Jr. specifically denouncing Alabama Governor George Wallace in his I Have a Dream speech for exactly this. In our Republican form of government, localities don't get to veto federal law, not on behalf of racial segregation and not on behalf of illegal immigrants thwarting the law. James Madison called this effort a fatal inlet of anarchy. Mayors deciding which federal laws to enforce and which to stymie is just that, anarchy. If they don't like the federal law, their duty is to try and change it, not stand in the way of enforcing it. These mayors are not heroes, they are anarchists, proving to be little more than a law unto themselves.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Chicago. John Anthony filling in for Dan and Amy alongside my good friend, my pal, my buddy, the former ABC 7 reporter, Charles Thomas. Charles, what's up, brother?
Top of the morning to you, Johnny. How you feeling, man?
I'm good. I didn't want to steal Dan's, how Dan introduces himself to the Chicago Morning Answers crowd. So maybe I'll steal it the next go around. Brother, there's been so much news that's happened since you and I were together. What's that? Almost a month ago now?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult because when I do this every now and then, I say, man, those guys at Morning Answer must be heaven. Wow, I mean, so much to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, there is so much to talk about. You and I haven't talked about, the 4 mayors headed over to D.C. to give testimony as to, and neither one of them could answer the questions except, Mayor Adams from New York. I think he was the only one that was really giving concrete answers to some of the questions that were being posed to him. And, Chicago's very own Mayor Johnson. Charles, I know how you feel about Mayor Johnson.
Me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you.
About 94%. About 95% of Chicagoans have no confidence.
Can you believe that, though?
In him.
Can you believe that only 6% of the
6.6%.
Oh, okay, put a little respect on that name. But 6.6% of the people support him.
Yeah,
only 6 point. Come on, that poll had to be skewed, right?
I don't think so. I mean, you got to think that in Chicago, it's all about who sent you.
Yeah,
it's like we don't want nobody sent.
Yeah,
and I don't know that who sent Brandon Johnson.
The CTU?
Exactly.
That's who sent him.
But do they have the political stuff, the political chops, really, in this city? I mean, they're a union.
Yeah.
They're not the usual Democrat machine, and they're the new guys on the block when it comes to Democrat Party politics. And quite frankly, they just do not have it together. Not here, not in Springfield. I mean, they can do what they want for their union.
Right.
I get that.
So they're
good
force.
at that.
They're brute force to be reckoned with. Not so much. They don't understand the nuances of Chicago politics.
No, and they don't have the DNA politically to really work 50 wards in this city.
Right.
And they basically, there's nothing under the hood.
But I think that was one of the problems Lori Lightfoot had to suffer with as well, because she wasn't part of that legacy of Chicago politics.
But kind of. I mean, she could go back to the Daley administration. She really could, because, she worked for the Daley administration, I guess, going back as far as the 1990s.
Yeah.
So she had a little more of a pedigree than Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon's got basically nothing going for him. He's a guy who grew up in Elgin.
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up in Elgin, so he doesn't even have it, he didn't even grow up in it.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing the results of that now. Chicago's a special
ugly.
place.
And it gets the politics of Chicago is very ugly. It's where I come up through. I come up through the Daily Machine as a young sprite kid, beating the pavement on the 21st Ward, at the time it was 21st Ward, 53rd Precinct, and we did a lot of work with the 6th Ward, with the 4th Ward. With my stepfather, we did a lot of work. Man, I was 5 years old knocking on doors, and then as I got older, I started circulating petitions and going to the ward meetings. And,
good Democrat.
Yeah, good Democrat. Yeah. So and then when I started questioning, what's happening in the communities, I was basically told. I would never forget Lucius Hall. You remember Lucius Hall?
Absolutely.
I was at an event, and they were all talking. You could see all the backdoor deals that were being talked about. And I started talking about, what was happening in the community. There was a lot of people getting murdered. And little son, young man, just you know how he talked. Mm-hmm. Sit down somewhere.
This is the preacher, right?
Yeah, Lucius. Yeah. And I mean, he was politically tied too.
Right.
Very much. The Braziers, all these people who were politically tied. And that's when I started questioning, what are they actually doing for the people of Chicago? And then I started. That's when I got hooked up with Rush Limbaugh. I started listening to him. I tuned into this station, WIND, on my way from Alsip, because I moved to Alsip, Illinois, and I started going back and forth while I was driving into the city of Chicago. I started listening to the Morning Answer. I started listening to Don Wade and Roma, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I'm agreeing with a lot of what they're saying, Charles, and I think we're starting to see that.
Man, you beat me to the game.
Yeah.
By 20, 25 years. I mean, I was. I'm a Johnny come lately to this. I mean, I knew a lot of people, let's say, on the right, because of my job. Mm-hmm. I mean, I tried to be in the middle.
Yeah,
I tried to be, but after a while, it got to the point where I would see the pressure. The pressure was on me to basically tell one side of the story, and it was just the left.
Yeah.
That's the left side.
Right.
So
your newsroom made you force you to do that too, though, right?
Well, they do. They really do, because there are certain people that they don't want to hear from.
Mm-hmm.
But I would always try to get those people on the air. I mean, Dan Proft was one person that he was my go-to guy.
Yeah.
He lived downtown, and if I needed the other side of the story, I went to Dan. But I knew that these weren't ogres, monsters.
Yeah.
On the other side, as the left kept saying.
Right.
And I'm going, wait a minute, these are real people, regular people.
Yeah.
They just have a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And then when we get to the last few years, after the Obama years, when they began, and we began to do all this crazy, way left stuff, that's when I said, hey, I'm not with that. I'm not down with it.
Yeah, see, I grew up when I was told, Republicans were the most racist people in the world.
Yeah.
Can you imagine my eyes when I come to realize that I dealt with more racism in the Democrat Party than I've ever done in the Republican Party? Ever done.
Absolutely. But that's the legacy of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 years ago, they were manipulating. They were using race to manipulate poor white sharecroppers in the South, dividing the white sharecroppers from the black sharecroppers to win elections. That's what they do. And they're doing the same thing now by manipulating urban black people, their base, if you will, in order to win elections. They don't care about what happens in their community.
Heck no.
They just want to vote.
That's all they care
That's
about.
all they care.
I'll never forget remembering when Harold Washington won as mayor. And, man, we were jumping up and down. We were so ecstatic. And then when he died, so check this out. Here's a quick story. My wife that I'm married to, when Harold Washington died, now you remember the whole pictures of him, the art of him in lingerie and things of that nature. So a couple of days, I think the day before, my wife's grandfather, God rest his soul, the late Reverend Hiram Crawford Sr., right over there on 76 in Cottage Grove, he came to Mayor Harold Washington and told him if he doesn't get his heart right, God's going to strike him dead. He said it just like that. The FBI visited him. And
What, the
preacher? Because they wanted to know if he had anything to do with Harold Washington's death.
Get out of here.
So, I mean, here it is. I'm excited about Harold Washington, and my wife's grandfather was basically pronouncing death on him because he told him if he didn't get his heart right, God's going to strike him dead.
Going back to the mayors testifying in Washington earlier this week, I got who cares?
Yeah.
Now, because the president spoke for an hour and 40 minutes the night before. We saw all the antics of the Democrat Party in the at the Capitol, and the mayors were really anticlimactic at that point. I don't think anybody really paid attention.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the biggest news that came out of it, and when we come back from the break, we'll get into it because there's a call on the line that's actually addressing what I think was the biggest news out of it, and it came from Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, and what she's going to do as relates to these mayors and where she's going to listen. We're not dealing with Biden's FBI and DOJ anymore. Charles, or the congressional, who I think they're understanding the fight and they're understanding the tools that they need to give President Donald Trump. And I'm here for this entire fight because in order to change and get what needs to be done to transform, remember in the words of Barack Obama, to fundamentally transform this America back to its original intent and purposes of being a republic, a constitutional republic. I think some of the things that you're starting to see with Donald Trump, with Doge, with the people he picked and selected, it has to be done. It has to be done. If it's not done, we're going to suffer as a nation. We simply are.
We perhaps won't be a nation.
I totally agree. We probably won't be a nation. Yeah. So, Charles, we're going to take your calls when we get back. 312-642-5600. Now onto the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
5:30 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning, everyone. A federal ethics watchdog fired by President Trump is dropping a lawsuit challenging his dismissal. Head of the Office of Special Counsel, Hampton Dellinger, announcing Thursday he's dropping the suit in response to a ruling yesterday by a federal judge that allows him to be removed while the case plays out. President Trump says he'll decide if they're going to revoke the protected status for Ukrainian refugees soon. There were mixed reports Thursday about whether Trump would strip 240,000 Ukrainians of their temporary legal status. Reporter Ross Cullen this morning says President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, is making progress on peace talks.
The idea for the talks in Saudi Arabia is to, quote, get down a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire. President Zelensky said on Thursday that Ukraine is not only ready to take the necessary steps for peace, but, quote, we are also proposing those steps.
Reporter Ross Cullen. SpaceX has once again lost contact with a Starship rocket during a test flight. The rocket launched from SpaceX's base in Texas Thursday afternoon, but 8 minutes into the flight, several engines appear to be cut off and that craft spun out of control. A New Mexico resident has tested positive for measles after their death. The state health department there said the official cause of death has not yet been determined. Retail and pharmacy giant Walgreens Boots Alliance is being sold. The company announced yesterday it has entered into an agreement to be acquired by private equity firm Sycamore Partners. A fire on the city's north side left one person dead Thursday afternoon. Chicago fire officials say the blaze erupted around 5 p.m. at a home in the 5100 block of North Oakley Avenue. Governor Pritzker is calling for a ban on cell phones in Illinois classrooms.
Other independent evaluations have shown phones increase harm to social and mental health, foster academic dishonesty, and create distractions during instruction.
Champaign Mayor Deborah Frank Finan thanked the governor and tried to make the argument that the proposal is not a big government mandate.
This legislation instead recognizes that we locally know best how to implement a cell phone classroom ban in our district.
By a wide margin, Illinois residents are voting to keep the existing state flag.
The current state flag received more than 165,000 votes, or about 43% of the total vote. In fact, the current flag received more votes than the next 5 top designs combined.
The Flag Commission will submit its findings and recommendations to the General Assembly by April 1st. Then, legislators will decide whether to keep the current flag. Kobe Whitehead, 44 last night, as the Bulls edge the Magic, 125-123. NHL trade deadline here today. The Blackhawks could be dealing ahead of a skate against Utah tonight. College hoops, it's that time of year. Missouri Valley Conference tournament action. Illinois State beats Missouri State, and Valparaiso upsets UIC 67-50. The news, a service of Valdecast Windows, for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella-certified contractor. Valdecast.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder explains why nothing gets done in Washington.
This is sickening. The President of the United States is elected. When Obama fired a whole bunch of U.S. attorneys, Eric Holder said elections matter. And you wonder why executive orders are not carried out. Because there are a whole bunch of people who either can't or won't, and there are no consequences when nothing gets done.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
I should have done it sooner. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and that's what a number of people say to me when they come up and talk to me about QC Kinetics. Why did I wait so long? So let me ask you a question to see if whether or not you're a good candidate for QC Kinetics. Do you have trouble sleeping, walking, day-to-day movement? Do you want to avoid surgery and all the pain, the long recovery, and the uncertainty that comes with it? Do you miss doing things like golfing, jogging, playing pickleball? Well, if you answered yes to any of these questions, I bet you're a great candidate. So please don't wait. Contact our good friends at QC Kinetics right now and ask for your free consultation. Learn how the latest advances in regenerative medicine can help you and give you lasting pain relief with no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
5:38 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average. Learn more and check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. Outbound Kennedy, accident, right lane blocked at Cumberland, 24 minutes on your outbound commute to O'Hare. DuSable Lakeshore Drive already jammed up right at Bryn Mawr this morning. Tri-State, an accident, 2 left lanes blocked. Northbound 294 between the Hinsdale Oasis and 47. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Wet snow in our forecast, probably arriving around 7 a.m. or so and then lasting off and on most of the day, an inch or two and a high of 37. Becoming clear and a low of 25. Mostly sunny, and we'll start the big warm-up tomorrow with a high of 47. It's 35 right now. Next news coming up at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer with John Anthony. Charles, you know, when all of these mayors were there speaking at the Capitol, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, I think that's her name. Yeah. I think that's how you said it. She had this to say about the actions she's getting ready to take.
So you don't believe that banning the transfer of individuals into ICE custody for the purpose of civil immigration enforcement encourages illegal immigration into Chicago? Or how about agencies, or agents not being able to stop, arrest, or detain individuals based solely on their immigration status or administrative warrant?
So we comply with all laws, local, state, and federal.
To me,
that's a lot in and of itself.
After this line of questioning, it's very clear that these policies that you have all implicated are active and alive and well in your cities, are in direct violation with U.S. Title 8 Code subsection 1324, and it is a federal offense. But you all speak about a broken immigration system, and yet here you guys are aiding and abetting in that entire process. I want to be very clear about something. Open border policies, which is something that you guys are talking about, hurts people on both sides, meaning the people that are coming here illegally and then American citizens as well. I do not think you guys are bad people, but I think that you are ideologically misled, which is why, unfortunately, based on your responses, I'm all going to be criminally referring you to the Department of Justice for investigation. And as soon as I leave here, these will be going over to Pam Bondi. I'm not doing that in an effort to bully you guys, but I do believe that your policies are hurting the American people, and you can make that known with the evidence that you can present to the Department of Justice. But if you guys continue doing what you're doing, you're not going to help anyone. You're going to hurt more people, and that's exactly why I'm tired of it. The American people are tired of it. And, Chairman, I yield my time.
Charles, where is she wrong?
She's not wrong. I mean, it shows you the discombobulated, chaotic state of the Democrat Party right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have somebody. They should have a policy. They should have a story to tell, and they don't. I mean, the majority of Americans have spoken. They don't want sanctuary cities. They don't want open borders. They don't want sanctuary cities. And people like Brandon Johnson and this mayor of Boston and Denver and Philadelphia, whatever, they want to go their own way after the American people have spoken.
Yeah.
And they got to be, they are.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Breaking the law.
I'm going to tell you why they can't come up with a policy, why they're so discombobulated. I think the shock and awe of what Trump is doing has unsettled them. I think their blind rage for Donald Trump will not allow them to, normally when you get your butt whooped, I remember when the Democrats and they put Harry Reid up as the Senate Minority Leader in the Senate. They went back and they licked their wounds and they figured out a different way. Instead of this brash approach to politics, speaking and yelling and doing what they were doing then, they brought this very soft-spoken United States Senator from Nevada to lead their caucus, to show that, the alleged moderate Democrat Harry Reid, and we both know that he was nowhere near a moderate Harry Reid. We both know that. And I don't think because when you look at the Barack Obamas of the world, I don't think they have somebody right now that can coalesce this party right now. Who among them can be that person?
Well, there certainly isn't this person that they elected to be the chairman of the DNC. That guy, where is he? I don't see him at all. But one thing I do notice about them, one thing that they're doing, they are using black people within the party,
yes,
to do the dirtiest work.
Yeah,
I mean, Al Green, the clownish behavior that he exhibited during the joint session of Congress the other night. And then you have this Jasmine Crockett who's out rapping and dropping F-bombs during interviews. But you're Letitia James, you're Fonnie Willis, you're all of these other, what's the guy's name in New York who?
Eric Adams?
No, the prosecutor who.
Alvin Bragg.
Yeah, Alvin Bragg. These are your frontline troops.
But
the
know why, though.
They use black people to as sacrificial lambs.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody is going to emerge later, but I want the black folks to understand what they're doing.
Yes.
They're using black people to do the dirtiest of the dirty work of the party.
Yeah.
And what do we get from it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
But you know why? Because what has happened in our political realm today is they use black people for cover. You get it? They use them for cover. So whatever the issue is, they put a black face in front of it so that you don't attack the issue, because if you attack the issue, you're racist, because to them, you're not going after the policy issue. You're going after the black person.
John, I just want black folks to understand, to have some situational awareness about what's going on and what these Democrats are doing to them.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone lines. Craig from Mount Greenwood, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Jen, and good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
before making my point, we're making heads up for you, John. Oh, and by the way, really nice seeing you at the big breakfast yesterday with the rest of the gang.
Thanks for the book. Thanks for the book too.
Oh, you're welcome. There's a sequel coming out to that. Probably be several months down the road that'll take and make that like Child's Play.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Hey, Saturday, I always look forward to trying to get in there. Getting your program between 4 and 7, black and white, right? And that's really good. And
thank you.
I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm going to be giving you my what do you call it? The explanation of how I judge the different hosts and all that stuff like that. Something important I'm going to share with you then. Hey, but for today, you guys are hitting right on the bullseye, man. You got the subject matter that's just taking a lot of us out here. We keep wondering. They were putting all kinds of Trump's people in jail. His lawyers, they round up his lawyers, people that supported him, indicting them, putting them in jail. Giuliani, they're still in jail. And
yeah.
January 6th things, putting innocent citizens in jail. And here's these mayors that have clearly broken the law, done all kinds of things that are really bad for their cities and that. They run free. What is the holdup on getting these people charged and in jail on our side?
Well, I do believe Trump had to get everybody installed, like the Kash Patels, the Pound. It took a while for Kash Patel to get in there. Now I think he's getting his footing, and he's got to see what's in front of him. I mean, you can't just make decisions and you don't actually know what they've done. I mean, I think there was a cleanup job happening while they were trying to get Kash Patel confirmed. I do. I think there was a cleanup job happening over there. That's one of the reasons why. Thanks so much for calling, Greg. That's one of the reasons why I think Pam Bondi didn't get the over 1,000 boxes or whatever it was as it related to Jeffrey Epstein, because they were trying to move stuff. They were moving stuff around so that the Trump administration had to reach out and seek and destroy, and find out where these records are. Not just for Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know what happened in Las Vegas. That Las Vegas thing. Donald Trump just said he wants to know what happened about his assassinations attempt. Both of them. The one that didn't happen, but it was there, right, Charles?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that Kash Patel just has. He can go on forever. The toolbox for MAGA is just overflowing.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing with the mayors and the possibility that one or all four of them that appeared before Congress earlier this week could be indicted even for any number of crimes related to harboring fugitives or illegals.
Yeah.
I mean, the toolbox is just overflowing at this point.
It really is. And, let's go back to the phone lines. Lewis from the South Side.
Good morning, John, and good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
It's not South Side. It's West Side.
West Side, the best side.
West Side ain't the best side. It's the South Side, brother.
Hey, I live on the West Side.
I'm from the South Side.
I live in the West Loop.
Go ahead, Lewis.
Okay, but anyway, what they doing is they using the image of the angry black woman and the angry black man to promote the Democratic agenda. They're using the sororities and fraternities, out there to promote influence peddling, money laundering with family members and NGOs, and inside trading.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. That's their gang, and they want to run this racism, white supremacist, institutional racism, and slavery issue and reparation issue. That's why they bring in those angry black women and angry black men. Thank you.
So true, Lewis. But you know what? It works, Charles. Until people start pushing back, like Donald Trump when he went to the NABJ, and he came right out to the black journalists. In order to break the cycle, in order to break the strength of what Lewis just talked about, the face of black people pushing an agenda, you have to push back against it. If you don't, it'll continue to work.
And that's why I sit here this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the reason. I mean, we've got to keep keep it out there because I sense a movement. I sense a movement in the right direction, and to reject what the Democrats have been doing.
Yeah,
and you know, I can only be hopeful at this point.
Yeah,
that things are happening.
Yeah, let's go to Marvin. Marvin, what's up, my brother? Haven't heard from you in a while. How you doing?
Well, I'm unretired, but at any rate, I think that as far as immigration, the American people, the American citizen, want it to mean something. We don't want our citizenship diluted by people who are here not to become citizens, but to be taken, just to come and take advantage of our breadbasket.
Yeah.
And as far as a movement and white, black, and all this stuff, I don't think it has anything to do with that. And the big picture is people have to understand what they're voting for. You can't just say, my precinct captain says I should vote for this, even though all your common sense tells you that this doesn't work. It hasn't worked for 50 years. This does work. We have to vote for this. And I think what's really helped people start to awaken and remove the emperor's clothes, so to speak, and see what's really behind the curtain is the recent history of Trump being in office, and then you had the contrast of Biden getting in, and wow, it's night and day. We don't want this. We want to go back where we had the lowest black unemployment. We had the lowest Spanish unemployment, and we're all Americans, and we're all trying to help Americans and not give our money away to people who just think they can come in here and dilute our value as a citizen.
Yeah.
It's not about movements. It's about people finally coming to their senses and understanding, I think, that and thinking a little bit more logically and deducing the fact that, yes, we got to have more common sense. Men can be women and women can become men. That's not it. It's not it.
That's true.
And, all these problems that we had in the schools, we didn't have a lot of these problems in the schools since the Department of Education. We had a little thing. It was like a cross, and it was in the schools until the early 60s, and they took it out. And ever since then, less discipline, less learning our principles as citizens. It's a big problem.
That's so true. Thanks, Marvin. Let's go to Mark from Oakland. Mark, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Charles, John, thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I wanted to ask Charles, being a former media guy.
Yeah.
I watched Channel 11, PBS a little bit, and they're talking about the black in the South and, and all the craziness that went on there, with the segregation and, but they're always talking about it and it's really good, but they forget the punchline. They never talk about who started it all. They never talk about the Jim Crow laws, and they never talk about the KKK. They're all founded by the Democratic Party.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And they never, it doesn't fit the narrative to talk about the Democrats, but they never talk about the black on black crime, in the South Side and the West Side. And Charles, how do these white liberals, I know Malcolm X used to say a long time ago, watch out for the white liberal. Yep. And they're terrible. And I think the callers are making some great points about how the whole point of how they're using the blacks, manipulating them.
Hey, Mark, get to your question because we have to go to break. What's the question you want to ask?
That's really it. It's just about the cover that they're making. They're manipulating the black people to cover their own tracks, stealing the Democrats.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mark. And Charles, you'll be able to answer that question.
Absolutely, man. It's he's right on.
Okay, wait. Just answer that question after the break. We'll be right back.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have high blood pressure, listen to this story. Ira was given a grim diagnosis about his blood pressure. His doctor warned it's sky high. If he didn't get it down in 3 weeks, he was going to need surgery. So Ira began exercising, went on medication. But what seemed to be the miracle change, his diet. After thorough research and consulting with a nutritionist friend, Ira concocted a juice from foods that work like natural blood pressure medicines. 2 weeks later, his blood pressure dropped 30 points. What helped save Ira's life, amazed his doctor, is now available to you. Ira and his nutritionist founded 120 Life, a delicious juice and powdered mix with natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now, 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Replacing windows in the winter may seem counterintuitive, but the fact is, it's a great time to really feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your #1 choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at Valdecas.com.
Ask about exclusive manufacturer warranties and the Valdecas 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at Valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago Morning Answer, Charles, I want to continue this discussion, and I want to talk about what are the fruits of DEI, and I also want to get into the Trump speech to joint session. I think what happened. Did we need legislation or leadership? I think Trump has proven that it was all about leadership.
All about leadership.
From day one.
Yep.
We'll take your calls, 312-642-5600. Now onto the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Russia bombarded Ukraine again overnight. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure in a missile and drone attack after the U.S. cut off military aid and ended intelligence sharing. But President Trump says
we've made a lot of progress with Ukraine and a lot of progress with Russia over the last couple of days. and it'd be great to bring that to an end.
Next week, there will be a new round of talks in Saudi Arabia between officials from Ukraine and the U.S., led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Today at the White House, President Trump will host the first cryptocurrency summit, the day after Fox's Madeline Rivera reports.
The president held a meeting with cabinet secretaries. Elon Musk was in the room. In that meeting, the president reportedly told cabinet members they are in charge of staff reductions, not Musk.
I want the cabinet members to keep good people. I don't want to see a big cut where a lot of good people are cut. I want them to do the best job they can. When we have good people, that's precious. That's very important.
And that remark comes as Musk faces scrutiny over his role at Doge.
Democrats say Doge is unconstitutionally reaching into federal agencies, and Musk led the way in the Trump administration making big cutbacks at the U.S. Agency for International Development, including freezing $2 billion in debts to USAID partners. They sued, and a court order upheld by the Supreme Court says the money must be paid. Now, a federal judge has told the administration it has until Monday to pay. Now, a tariff update.
Companies importing goods from Canada and Mexico will get a 1-month reprieve from tariffs imposed earlier this week by President Trump.
During this interim period between now and April 2nd, this makes it much more favorable for our American car manufacturers.
But the president says there will be no exemptions or delays from wide-reaching reciprocal tariffs next month.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The tariffs and the ones on Chinese imports were imposed, the president says, to stop the flow of the deadly drug fentanyl into the U.S. China's foreign minister vowed today to keep retaliating with their own tariffs. America's listening to Fox News.
6:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Retail and pharmacy giant Walgreens Boots Alliance is being sold. The company announcing yesterday it's entered into an agreement to be acquired by private equity firm Sycamore Partners. A crematory in the south suburbs is closed for improperly storing bodies. Officials say over 100 bodies were found in sheets and bags in trailers at the Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights. Fire on the city's north side left one person dead Thursday afternoon. According to Chicago Fire, the blaze erupted around 5 p.m. The male victim located inside in the Ravenswood neighborhood and later taken to a nearby hospital. A suburban investment advisor is accused of swindling his clients. Ralph Rogers of Batavia was indicted on 6 counts of wire fraud in federal court. Prosecutors say from 2021 to 2023, Rogers fraudulently obtained funds from multiple individuals. Governor Pritzker calling for a ban on cell phones in Illinois classrooms. The governor proposing legislation that would require all public school districts in the state to adopt a wireless communications device policy.
Other independent evaluations have shown phones increase harm to social and mental health, foster academic dishonesty, and create distractions during instruction.
The proposal includes several exceptions, like in the event of an emergency. There appears to be a rift between the family of the late singer and Cook County Commissioner Jerry Iceman Butler and his caretaker, and the family of Jerry Butler. The sons of the music giant, known as the Iceman, say the person who has their father's power of attorney scheduled a wake and funeral without the family involvement.
It's like you're doing this on purpose. You know, you are doing it on purpose. It's not right.
Caretaker had planned a wake for today. The family is scheduling a public memorial for the R&B star on March 12. Kobe White had 44 in the Bulls' win over the Magic, 125-123. The Blackhawks go for their 3rd win in a row when they host Utah tonight. The NHL trade deadline is here today. The Hawks could be dealing. Spring baseball. Cubs lost to the Royals 9-3. White Sox lost to the Giants 7-3. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt knows what the media is serving.
It's something I think a lot of people in the media have a difficult time admitting. They really don't know what's going on, and therefore they make stuff up. What they think they understand is Donald Trump, and they know And some in their audience love to hate on Trump, so they serve that up piping hot every night whenever their show comes on.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Hey, you want to hear some great news? Preborn is bringing babies back to life. What you might not be aware of is that even though Roe has been overturned and abortion has been greatly restricted in many states, the abortion pill has now superseded surgical abortions, accounting now for 60% of these deaths. Preborn's network of clinics are on standby for women in their darkest hour, and when they meet them with God's love and free service to help them choose life, including a treatment that counteracts the toxic abortion pill, these life-saving and heart-changing measures, Preborn and their network clinics have rescued over 330,000 babies' lives. But the work has just begun, and every day thousands of babies' lives hang in the balance. Your tax-deductible donation of any amount is crucial in the fight and the heartbeat of our nation. Will you help us? All proceeds will go towards life. Just dial pound 250, pound 250, and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or donate securely at preborn.com/hope. That's preborn.com/hope. Sponsored by Preborn.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live. Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is a service of Anthony Del Grotto, your local State Farm agent. Anthony combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. Combine your home, auto, and life. DelGrottoSF.com. Kennedy outbound, 21 minutes to O'Hare. Accident right lane. Car into the wall. It's outbound between Harlem and Cumberland this morning. Tri-State, you've got an accident, 2 left lanes blocked northbound between 75th and 47th. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some snow at times today, 1 to 2 inches. That rain could mix in anytime. Accumulations mostly non-paved surfaces, high 37. Slippery areas tonight, clear, low 25. Sunny tomorrow, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Currently 35 at O'Hare, 36 Midway, 31 in Aurora, and light snow flurries in Sugar Grove. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning. How's that work, Charles?
Better.
Nobody can say it like Dan Proft.
Sounds familiar.
Nobody can say it like Dan Proft, though. Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony. He's Charles Thomas, former ABC7 reporter, filling in for Dan and Amy this morning. Charles, before we go into the fruits of DEI, I want you to hear, because I think this is what you've been speaking to. I've heard you speak to it when you filled in with Dan and the last time you and I filled in about, how they put black faces and specifically women. I want you to hear this exchange between Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and Chairman Comer.
Chair recognizes
Mr. Chairman, I have unanimous consent
Subramaniam.
request. Mr. Chairman, I have unanimous consent request.
Proceed.
I'd like to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record this article, and I'll do this as a survivor of sexual violence myself. This is from Courts, March 2018.
Without objection, so ordered.
Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born...
Without objection, so ordered. We've put it in the record.
I haven't entered it.
You have what?
Here it comes, Charles.
Mr. Chair, can I have several articles. I need to enter them. Let me just go ahead with what the articles are. What they speak to.
What's the next article?
Let me proceed. Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born Americans commit more rape and murder than immigrants.
Listen, this trend of you all trying to get thrown out of committee so you can get on MSNBC is going to end. We're not going to put up with it.
This is my procedural right as a member of this committee.
You can go. You can go with Mr. Frost and Mr. Green.
I am reclaiming my time.
That's what you want.
There is no time.
No, Ms. Presley, I have been very accommodating to you, Mr. Subramaniam.
And I take particular umbrage as a survivor of sexual violence. I will enter into the record. This is my right. Thank you.
No. It is Mr. Subramaniam.
But Charles, you get this. That's basically what you're speaking to, correct?
America is tired of victimhood.
Yeah.
People that want to be victims. America is tired of it. And you saw an upswing in it right after the George Floyd situation.
We're going to get into that later.
Okay, I know. But the thing is, but now it's beginning, it has subsided.
Yeah.
People are tired of victims. And I think what black folks, black women in particular, have to understand is that the other people of color in this country, they're also tired of it.
Yeah.
They don't feel as though they are victims.
Oh, that's that coon talk, though, Charles.
Yeah, I mean, the ones who protest, quote unquote, affirmative action or DEI, Asian Americans.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they want no part of it because they feel it is limiting what they can accomplish in this country. So black people are becoming increasingly isolated. We're isolating ourselves, actually, as victims. And America is simply tired of it. That's what November 5th was about.
Yeah.
That wasn't just white people voting against DEI. Again, it was Asians. You got black people from deepest, darkest Africa, from the Congo, who sell everything that they own to get across the Atlantic Ocean to go to Mexico so that they can go chest deep in the Rio Grande River to get to this systematically racist country.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. We have to restore some perspective to ourselves about where we are and when we are. We have made incredible progress in the United States of America.
Oh, Charles.
And we are victors.
Charles, that's
not
that
victims.
Coon. Charles, that's that Coon and Uncle Tom talk you doing.
Well, I'm sorry, but we have to begin to understand what we have.
Yeah.
Because the rest of America watches television. They see black people doing this and doing that. They see the NBA, the NFL. They see what we're doing, what we're accomplishing. And they don't see us as victims anymore.
Yeah, Charles,
we're not victims.
Just a programming note. I failed to mention that we're now broadcasting in 2 states right now. We're broadcasting here in Illinois, the Chicago Morning Answer. I want to welcome in the Detroit's Morning Answer crowd on 92.7 and AM 1400, The Answer as well. So I failed to mention that because, I got so, focused in on Chicago's morning answer. So our Detroit crowd is listening, and Michigan crowd is listening in as well, Charles.
Good morning, Detroit. I love Detroit. When I was a correspondent at ABC News, I was a Midwest correspondent, and I spent a lot of time in Detroit. And I would be in Dearborn or Southfield in a hotel. And, there's no sidewalks out there.
Yeah.
Because people, they drive in Detroit. So one day I was on the air, and after I was on the air, I had a good friend who I grew up with who had moved to Detroit, and he saw me on the air, and he said, "Hey, man, you come to Detroit and you never call me?" Or I said, "Man, I didn't know you were." So he introduced me to Detroit the right way.
Yeah.
And man, I ended up not having dinner at the hotel anymore. I'd be in somebody's kitchen because the folks there are so homey.
Yes.
And I love Detroit.
Yeah, Charles, one of the things I'm trying to do with Detroit's Morning Answer, I've been interviewing a lot of their elected officials, and I've been trying to tell them, do not make Michigan, Illinois. You guys are. Did you know Detroit's budget is $83 billion? Can you believe Detroit's budget
really
far surpasses Illinois' budget?
Are you kidding? You mean Michigan?
Michigan. $83 billion budget that they recently passed. $83 billion for the fiscal year of 2025 that they passed last year. They passed last year. I'm sure it's going to be more, but the good thing is there's a Republican controlled House now in Michigan. So there's a backstop from all the foolishness from happening in Michigan now. So that's a really good thing.
That is interesting.
But I want to really do you know the Pastor John, and I'm gonna butcher his name, and because I met him at the White House. Got to tell you about my visit to the White House as well for the Black History Month event. But I met him at the White House. He's going to be coming on Detroit's Morning Answer soon. John Amachuka, I may be butchering his name, and I apologize, Pastor. But he was in Texas, and he was in front of a Senate committee, and I thought he broke down DEI better than most that I've heard thus far. And I want to get your take on it, Charles.
I'm John Amanchukwu, and I wish that Senator Royce West would be here at this moment to hear, first and foremost, that there are black people in this country who are against DEI, contrary to popular opinion. In 1911, Booker T. Washington wrote these words. He says, "There's a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Having learned that they are able to make a living out of their troubles, they have grown into the settled habit of advertising their wrongs, partly because they want sympathy and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs." The question today is, what is the fruit of DEI? Has it fostered unity in school districts in Texas? No. Has it improved reading scores in Texas? No. Has it improved math scores in Texas? No. Has it improved SAT test scores in Texas? No. Has it improved STAR test scores in Texas? No. Has it cost us a lot of money? Yes. So what has DEI produced? Nothing but confusion. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says that God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. And so instead of us hiding behind the misnomer of DEI leveling the playing field, it's time for us to wipe the black face off of DEI.
There it is.
DEI purports that it benefits blacks and brown people in America, but it doesn't. It really only opens up opportunities for people who are driven towards trans-zealot ideologies. My hope and prayer is that we can get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic and remove content that is mentally raping our children.
Every time he said Texas, he could have said Illinois.
Or Michigan, or any one of them.
Yeah, any other state.
Yeah.
He's absolutely on point. And Booker T. Washington is somebody that I think in the pantheon of black heroes
and black thought
is somebody we need to pay attention to, just as Elijah Muhammad is someone we should begin to rethink and revisit in terms of philosophy.
I've already rethunk Malcolm X.
Yes.
I was raised up because I was a Christian. You can't listen to what the Muslim community says. But Malcolm X, I mean, when you go back and listen to what he was speaking to, he made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And, all we get, right now in America is this steady diet of Martin Luther King Jr., which is cool. I mean, I have my utmost respect, but we're forgetting the Marcus Garveys of our history, those who talked about self-reliance in the darkest of times, who built what we have today.
Yeah,
we can't forget those
Langston
people.
Hughes.
And we cannot forget those leaders.
But at the same time, Charles, there are Black thought leaders that a lot of Black community, because during Black History Month on Black and Right, there was a lot of people wanting me to bring up the same old retread of Black leaders. So what I did? I brought up Thomas Sowell. I brought up Walter Williams Sr. I was going to bring on Steele too, but these are people that there are a lot of Black people who don't even know who these guys are.
Exactly.
And there's some of them, the preeminent economists that were Black that nobody knows anything about, that speaks about the racial issues. I mean, they're used to the, I was teasing you about the Coon talk and the Uncle Tom talk, but they've been called that and much worse.
Much worse.
And nobody knows, and there's a lot of people in the Black community, you can learn a lot from these people too. That's why what I've been doing on Black and Right is introducing these people to the listening audience. And I've been able to get a lot of people who were Black to start listening to the show, saying, you know what, I don't agree with everything you say, but I'm starting to think about some of the things that you bring up I never thought about before. Well, that's the reason why I exist on the radio, to change the worldviews of a lot of people. I don't want them to become Republican or Democrat. I can care less about that. I just want them to become constructive, critical thinkers.
They have to understand that we're all talking about the same goal, which is a better America.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point in time, we have to concede that we are Americans.
Yeah.
We are Americans. And just as every other immigrant who has come to this country, who now lives and calls this space home, we are Americans, and that has to supersede the divisions.
Yeah.
And right now, the divisions are getting top billing by these gatekeepers in Congress.
Yeah.
They thrive on division.
Yeah.
They thrive on division.
But it pays, though. Division
it pays them. The Democrats definitely pay them to foster division.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at some point, we have to remember. I mean, I had this incredible conversation one time with Tim Black. He died.
I know who he is. Okay. I never met him, but I know who he is.
And I asked him, I said, what was it like during World War II? Did the civil rights movement stop in World War II? He said, well, didn't stop, but it was certainly toned down.
Yeah.
Because people understood that America, we lived in America.
Yeah.
And so you had Black men who volunteered to go to war for this country, put their lives on the line. And they didn't have to.
Right.
They didn't have to.
In spite of everything they went through, they still love this country.
They still love this country. And that's, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. And I think what we have to do, and I think the Republican Party has to do, they have to begin to appeal to that sense of America.
Yeah.
Who are we? I mean, we're here. This is our home. I don't know anything about Africa. But don't call me an African American, because I'm not. I don't know anything about Africa.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying?
I think about that, and I think about the people who actually went through slavery, people that actually went through Jim Crow, and yet, throughout, in spite of all that they had to endure and go through, they still love this country. But this spoiled new generation who never had to endure any of that hate this country.
Doesn't it just really rile you when you hear some 25-year-old person talking about racism?
Yeah.
Man, I grew up in a former slave state in the South, right? When I can remember the signs. I grew up in the 50s, man.
Yeah. Man, you old.
Yeah, I know. I know. But I think about it, and I went to a racially segregated by statute elementary school. And it was one of the best educations I ever had.
Yeah.
Because it was controlled by my community, which is one reason today I am a supporter of school choice.
Wait. Can you say, what, you grew up in a what?
I grew up in a segregated...
No, what year did you grow up in?
The 50s.
Damn.
Oh, you set me up for that.
We got to go to break, Charles. I really wanted to take this call from Joey T. That's from the Kevin Hart Show. Him and Don Cheadle were talking. Right. But you listen to The Morning Answer. We'll be right back.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Jeff Tishlar, author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech, has shared his knowledge of the spectacular things that we see in nature as opposed to what man has created, and how this should inform one's faith. Jeff served on the mission field all over the world and has created this highly illustrated and concisely written technical book. The easy-to-read format is understood from the youngest reader to the most intelligent and mature readers. Google and Amazon book reviews include, "This is the best little book I have ever read. It is amazing how much information is in this book." And a beautifully written and illustrated book. The author has a gift for describing complicated technical details in a very understandable style. This book is available now in paperback on Amazon. Search High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar. 100% of proceeds go to missions. That's High Tech vs. the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar.
The fight against abortion in Illinois has never been more important than it is right now. Thanks to our elected officials, Illinois has become an abortion tourism destination. The number of abortions in our state continues to grow, despite the fact that crisis pregnancy centers outnumber abortion clinics almost 3 to 1. Now, thanks to a new effort by Caring Network, it's possible to reach abortion-minded women to provide peace of mind and security to help them choose life. This new Reach Her First initiative seeks to provide women with the assurance and information they need before they choose an abortion. But Caring Network needs your help to reach women who are considering abortion. For a one-time gift of just $150, you can help reach 5 women and help them choose life. That's all it takes to prevent an abortion. To make that gift, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. The House Judiciary Committee just held hearings on so-called sanctuary cities, bringing in various mayors trying to justify their policies. I say so-called sanctuary cities because that is the Orwellian term for what should be called nullification cities. These mayors are nullifying federal law. Liberals used to oppose such doctrines in the name of protecting all of our civil rights. Recall Martin Luther King Jr. specifically denouncing Alabama Governor George Wallace in his I Have a Dream speech for exactly this. In our Republican form of government, localities don't get to veto federal law, not on behalf of racial segregation and not on behalf of illegal immigrants thwarting the law. James Madison called this effort a fatal inlet of anarchy. Mayors deciding which federal laws to enforce and which to stymie is just that, anarchy. If they don't like the federal law, their duty is to try and change it, not stand in the way of enforcing it. These mayors are not heroes, they are anarchists, proving to be little more than a law unto themselves.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98, kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
9:29 here in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A federal ethics watchdog fired by President Trump is dropping a lawsuit challenging his dismissal. The head of the Office of Special Counsel, Hampton Dellinger, announcing he's dropping that suit in response to a ruling issued yesterday. President Trump says he'll decide if he's going to revoke the protected status for Ukrainian refugees soon. Reporter Ross Cullen also says that President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, is making progress on peace talks in Ukraine.
The idea for the talks in Saudi Arabia is to, quote, get down a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire. President Zelensky said on Thursday that Ukraine is not only ready to take the necessary steps for peace, but, quote, we are also proposing those steps.
While speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Donald Trump yesterday said he's not looking to hurt anyone. SpaceX has once again lost contact with the Starship rocket during a test flight. It happened Thursday afternoon, 8 minutes into flight. During the last test flight back in January, the Starship rocket exploded, also about 8 minutes after takeoff. Retail and pharmacy giant Walgreens Boots Alliance is being sold. The Deerfield-based company announced yesterday it's being acquired by private equity firm Sycamore Partners. A fire on the city's north side left one dead Thursday afternoon. It happened in the Ravenswood neighborhood. Fire erupting around 5 p.m. at a home in the 5100 block of North Oakley. A major Small Business Administration office is leaving Chicago. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler announcing they're leaving several cities that have immigration sanctuary policies. The office will be moved to Indianapolis. Proposed legislation would create oversight requirements on homeschooling. It's being denounced in Springfield. The Homeschool Act would require Illinois parents to keep in contact with school administrators and mandate curriculum choices. State Representative Brandon Schweizer says the regulations are a direct infringement on parental rights.
This legislation is being sold as a protection of children measure, but in reality, it is just placing another unnecessary burden on our families and on our education system here in Illinois.
State Representative Reagan Deering saying parents should be allowed to choose whether they want to homeschool their kids with no government oversight.
The homeschool growth is tremendous in Illinois, and so a lot of families are finding individual reasons to remove their children from the public school environment, violence and bullying being one of those issues.
Deering adding that there is no reason to enact legislation to fix a problem that simply doesn't exist. Colby White had 44 in the Bulls' win over the Magic, 125-123. NHL trade deadline is here. Blackhawks expect to be dealing, and they take on Utah later on tonight. College hoops Fighting Illini wrap up the Big Ten regular season with a game against number 18 Purdue. Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, a little Arch Madness yesterday. Illinois State beat Missouri State 70-54, and Valparaiso upset UIC 67-50. The news, a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Brighten your home and make the rooms in your house look better and bigger with larger windows or patio doors this spring. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees Trump doing what we want.
The media and the Democrats are melting down over Trump expecting accountability from the thousands and thousands and thousands of federal workers who work for us. The moral of the story is we voted for accountability.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. My father was a union ironworker, just like his father, but while he inherited his father's skill, he did not inherit his tolerance for taking orders from union bosses. He needed a change, something that was his, something where he could call the shots. So he started a janitorial company. His company cleaned grocery stores and airplane hangars, dentist office and construction sites, hardware stores and restaurants. As his business expanded, so did the complexity of managing it, especially the taxes. Preparing tax returns requires records, and Dad just never got accustomed to keeping good records. That was a mistake. It cost him his business. Initially, I followed my father and grandfather and became a union iron worker, third generation. I'm very proud of that legacy. Now I'm a tax attorney. I help business owners protect what they've built. Fighting back against the IRS is personal to me. If you own a business and have tax troubles, fight back. Go to fightbacknow.com. That's fightbacknow.com, or call 312-664-6649. Become a freedom fighter today.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
6:36. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and this update on travel times is a service of Discover. Discover automatically matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. See terms at discover.com/credit card. Kennedy on the inbound side, 22 into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson, 30 and climbing into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State, an accident, 2 left lanes blocked northbound between LaGrange Road and 47. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Occasional wet snow and rain moving into the area. We could see an inch or two of snowfall. High 37, becoming clear in 25 overnight. 35 at O'Hare, 35 Midway, 33 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony. He's Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 reporter. Charles, you know, you're hearing a lot about should the United States buy or take by force Greenland. You see in China building power plants at an exponential rate. And then we have Donald Trump and his energy policy with Secretary Wright and Lee Zeldin over at the EPA. I wanted to have someone to come on and talk about some of the pressing issues because, you know, as we deal with China, I'm told that Trump may have a couple of tricks up his sleeve. Bonner Cohen, he's a senior fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research, where he concentrates on energy, natural resources, and international relations. Bonner, welcome to the Morning Answer. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, and I'm delighted to be here.
You know, you wrote an article for CFAC.org where you talked about in dealing with China, Trump may have a trick up his sleeve. With China, Trump with tricks, that's quite shocking. What is this trick you speak of, and what would it do, and how will it help American interests?
what Trump recognized, and a whole bunch of other people have seen this too, is that the great beneficiary of the so-called green transition that was going full speed ahead under the Biden administration, the great beneficiary of that was the People's Republic of China. Why? Because China controls the raw materials that go into solar panels, wind turbines, and the batteries that power electric vehicles. The United States and Europe did this too, by moving away from fossil fuels in the name of combating climate change, actually engaged in a form of unilateral economic and actually, I would argue, geopolitical disarmament, because you strengthened the position of your greatest geopolitical rival. So what Trump has done is he has flipped the script on all of this. He is pushing American global energy dominance. The United States is the world's largest producer of oil and natural gas, also has the world's largest reserves of coal, and he has decided to put that to the good use of the American public. The Chinese were very smart here. They were the ones who saw that they could benefit from the green energy transition. Not that they're necessarily doing very much of this on their own. They're building, as you pointed out in your intro, all sorts of brand spanking new coal-fired power plants because the energy that goes to propel the Chinese economy, that comes primarily from coal, but they have put themselves in a position where they were the ones who were pocketing the proceeds from the West's green energy transition. So you're seeing that change now, and it could well turn out that the Chinese long-term made a very bad bet, because they are now the suppliers have really a chokehold on the global supply chain of all the ingredients that go into renewable energy. And we are finding out, to our chagrin, that these billions and billions and billions of dollars we have put into windmills and solar panels has been largely wasted, that you can't run a full-time economy on part-time energy. It just doesn't work. The math, the physics, nothing works. So this is what Trump is doing. He is also moving the U.S. Into the raw materials, specifically rare earths and other precious minerals that are absolutely essential for a whole host of domestic products, also with dual military applications. China, again, has a chokehold on the supply chain for that and also the processing of that. And Trump is moving in the direction we have our own rare earths. That's one of the reasons he's interested in Greenland, which is said to have an awful lot of this. So the chessboard is being moved around an awful lot, and we shall see how this goes. But I think the direction in which the country is going in this respect is extremely promising, and it could actually greatly benefit the American public.
Mr. Cohen, the rare earths of which you speak, are they in the ground in China? Or where are they around the world?
Yes, they are. But the ones that they use, the Chinese, again, they think strategically. They're not interested in midterm elections or short-term quarterly reports. They think long-term. And they not only control the rare earths around the world. They're in South America. They get some of their stuff from Central Africa. But once you extract rare earths, you have to process them. The Chinese figured that out. And they currently have a monopoly on the processing of rare earths. So for us, it's not only going to be important to extract the rare earths, but we're going to have to set up the facilities to process them so that they can have a commercial value. So it's a great question. And again, it shows how strategically the Chinese have thought about this. And now it looks as if they're at long last going to be having some competition. Turn back the clock 30 years ago, the U.S. was the world's leader in rare earths. That is no longer the case. We're way behind, and it's going to take some time to catch back up.
How much time will it take to set up processing facilities?
Oh, it's going to take a while, I'm afraid, because getting permits in the United States to do anything.
10 years? 15?
Yes, it's going to take years. You're exactly right. I do think you'll probably start seeing things toward the end of the decade. But one of the things that needs to accompany this is permit reform, so that you can do something. And that can be building a new exit ramp off an interstate highway. That can take a month of Sundays. Because of all the red tape that we have to go through, which is also being cut back. But I think the will is there, and I think a lot of investment capital is going to go into this. So stay tuned. Things are going to change.
Mr. Cohen, when you think about the number of treaties, the Montreal Protocol, the Earth Summit, the Copenhagen #1, Kyoto Protocol, the Marrakesh Accords, when you think about how China, how should the U.S. handle the international climate agreements, especially when it disproportionately benefit China while it strangles American industry? Should President Trump, consider withdrawing from more of these globalist pacts?
Oh, yes, he absolutely should. I'm very glad you raised that subject. In his first day in office, President Trump withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Accord. That was signed by the Obama administration in December 2015. Now, he withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord in the summer of 2017, but he went about it the wrong way. He followed the procedures that were laid out when the agreement was reached. It's a long bureaucratic process. What he should have done then, and what he should do now, is submit this agreement, which the UN, which is behind it, declares is a treaty. He should submit that treaty to the Senate for ratification, where it stands zero chance of getting 67 votes to being passed, and that will kill it once and for all. Yeah. If he leaves things the way they are, simply getting out of it by way of an executive order, some future Democratic administration could come into office and get the United States right back into it. What would that mean? Well, under the Paris Agreement, we are, quote-unquote, obligated to cut our greenhouse gas emissions by a certain level, by a date certain. And what the global climate activists have done is said, okay, you need to live up to your commitments under the Paris Agreement. Well, once we are out of that agreement, after the Senate has voted it down, we have no such commitments whatsoever. And Europe and other places are finding out that a zero emissions commitment is tantamount to deindustrialization. This all goes under the name of we need to decarbonize.
Yeah.
Well, decarbonization equals deindustrialization. Plants shut down. The European, particularly the German automobile industry, has been absolutely devastated by the transition to electric vehicles, which are now increasingly coming under the control and dominance of the Chinese because they can produce them so much cheaper.
Yeah.
And with the result, and by the way, that same thing would happen to us if we allowed Chinese vehicles, EVs, into the countries. Detroit wouldn't be able to stay in the ring with them in terms of price. So all that is a long way of saying we need to get out of this treaty once and for all, send it to the Senate, let it be voted down, and be done with it.
Yeah. Now let's bring it back to the states. When I served as an Illinois state representative, I sat on the Energy Committee, and I know the IEPA, the Illinois EPA. They were doggedly tough.
Oh,
and
I can imagine.
when you look at what's happening with the energy companies, when you look at what's happening with farmers, and I don't think a lot of people understand ESG, environmental social governance. What steps should be taken to push back against the radical ESG? Because it truly has infiltrated corporate America.
Right. Those steps, fortunately, are already being taken.
Okay.
ESG was all the rage in investing 4 or 5 years ago. One company after the other adopted ESG policies. There were all sorts of funds into which you can invest your hard-earned money that had ESG written all over them. Well, a couple of things happened. First of all, those funds underperformed. It was really not a good place to put your money. And secondly, the whole notion of ESG, which is closely tied to such things as DEI, but it's also tied to green policies that work radically against average Americans. This ran into real trouble. Several court decisions, really including, it just sounds unrelated, but a Supreme Court decision overturning affirmative action.
Yeah.
In the admittance to colleges and universities. Well, that set a precedent. It's not only restricted to college and universities, it applies to companies and other institutions, meaning that companies practicing ESG and DEI policies were going to find themselves on the receiving end of unwanted lawsuits from the Department of Justice simply because they were in violation of a Supreme Court decision. So you're seeing companies now run away from ESG.
Yeah.
It all the fashion 2-3 years ago, it has come and gone. So this is a very welcome development, and it means that the people are going to be now encouraged to put their money where it can actually benefit them, rather than serving some hypothetical green utopia that is never going to come into existence.
The green new scam comes to mind, in my opinion.
That's right.
So does this ESG now, because they're always creating new names, so will that now fall under environmental justice now?
No, I think environmental justice is also on its way out. Environmental justice programs are run primarily, well, there are a bunch at state and local levels, but at the federal level, they're run through the EPA. Now, there was never any congressional authorization whatsoever for environmental justice programs. And in fact, the environmental justice programs were said to benefit minority communities. In truth, they actually hurt them because they kept industries from going into those communities and creating much-needed jobs. Now, the EPA under Lee Zeldin wants nothing whatsoever to do with environmental justice because they see that it harms the very people it purports to help. And the scandal that broke a couple of weeks ago, whereby we discovered that in the final weeks of the Biden administration, $20 billion, that's billion with a B, in grants were handed out to 8 previously non-existent environmental groups calling themselves green banks. $20 billion was given to them. These so-called green banks had no track record of any accomplishments whatsoever, nor did they have a track record that showed that they could handle the enormous gobs of money, taxpayer money, that was coming their way. So Zeldin is now trying to, assisted by Attorney General Pam Bondi at the Justice Department, they're trying to claw this money back now. The recipients were not properly vetted. Nobody has any idea where the money will eventually wind up. The money went from taxpayers to the Treasury Department, the Treasury Department to EPA, from EPA to Citibank. It was parked at Citibank to keep it away from the prying eyes of the Trump administration.
Insane. That is just insane. And you know what?
But it gets worse. It goes from there to the green banks. But the green banks have subcontractors, and the subcontractors have subcontractors.
So it's all the money. Follow the money.
Oh, it's a multi-layered cake here. Anyway, I have recently read that some of the would-be recipients of this are now complaining that they can't access their funds because Citibank has frozen them, probably at the urging, or we'll use that as a polite term, of the Justice Department, which is just trying to find out where this money is and recoup as much of it as possible.
Wow. Mr. Cohen, we have to leave it right there. I really appreciate you coming on. He's a senior fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research. Go check out his article at cfac.org. Thanks so much for joining us on The Morning Answer.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it.
You're listening to The Morning Answer with John and Charles. We'll be right back.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Are you an administrator, staff member, or parent volunteer at a private school? Would you like to grow your current enrollment and welcome new families to your school? If so, we want to tell you about a great opportunity to help increase enrollment and promote your school to families all across Chicagoland. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. They work to connect private schools with new families who are looking for discounted first-year tuition. In exchange, your school will receive a marketing campaign to help grow your enrollment. Chicagoland School Vouchers does all the work to bring new families together with your school and help you expand your reach. They've been working with schools across Chicagoland for over a decade. As the demand for school choice grows here in Illinois, your private school needs to take advantage of this program. To learn more, just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
Who should control the future of artificial intelligence? Washington or Springfield? If you're interested in learning more about one of the most talked about current topics, mark your calendar for Saturday, March 15th to attend an insightful presentation on the Supreme Court's decision and its implications for bioethics. This talk will be presented by the distinguished Clark Forsythe, prestigious author, professor, and senior counsel at Americans United for Life. Clark has been a co-counsel for parties in 3 U.S. Supreme Court cases and has argued cases before federal and state appellate courts. He has also testified before Congress and state legislatures and is the author of 3 books on law and bioethics, including Abuse of Discretion, The Inside Story of Roe v. Wade. Clark has been published in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Times, Newsweek, and many other publications. The Sag Bridge Mission Society proudly presents Clark Forsythe, J.D., March 15th at 7 p.m. at Sag Hall, 10600 Archer in Lamont. No charge for admission. Seating is limited. Register now at sagbridgemissonsociety.org. That's sagbridgemissonsociety.org.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Car Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
A Russian barrage of missiles and drones. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It hit Ukraine overnight, targeting the country's energy infrastructure, though some were shot down. This after the U.S. cut off military aid and intelligence sharing amid tense negotiations with Ukraine, trying to end that war with Russia. President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, says they're making progress.
I think the idea is to get down a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire as well.
And they're still working out a minerals profit-sharing deal with Ukraine. And a week after the contentious White House meeting, they got a letter from Ukraine's leader.
Witkoff told us yesterday that President Zelensky's letter amounted to an apology. It showed his gratitude, and it convinced the president that he really is committed to finding a path to peace. So on Tuesday, Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, and Witkoff will head to Saudi Arabia to meet again. And it's not just about the minerals deal.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. Rubio is the Secretary of State. Waltz, the U.S. National Security Advisor. President Trump's put on hold for a month most of the 25% tariffs he imposed on imports from Canada and Mexico this week, after a phone call with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who he called a wonderful woman.
We discussed drugs, and they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that?
He says the tariffs aim to stop the flow of fentanyl coming into the U.S., the same reason he has tariffs on Chinese imports. China's foreign minister said today they'll continue to retaliate, adding no country should fantasize it can suppress China. The man accused in the second Trump assassination attempt, Ryan Ruth, has a court hearing today in Florida.
The 59-year-old convicted felon is accused of lying in wait for more than 12 hours on the perimeter of the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach with the hopes of assassinating Trump back in September. At the time, Trump had just survived a previous assassination attempt 2 months earlier in Butler, Pennsylvania.
That's Fox's Chanley Painter. America's listening to Fox News. 35 degrees, a splash of sunshine at the moment, but snow and rain are on the way. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Retail and pharmacy giant Walgreens Boots Alliance is being sold. The company yesterday announcing it's entered into an agreement to be acquired by private equity firm Sycamore Partners for about $10 billion. At the moment, its headquarters will remain in Deerfield. A crematory in the south suburbs is shut down for improperly storing bodies. Officials say over 100 bodies were found in sheets and bags at the Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights. The state has since shut down the crematory. A fire on the city's north side has left one person dead Thursday afternoon. Chicago fire officials say the blaze erupted around 5 p.m. in the Ravenswood neighborhood in the 5100 block of North Oakley Avenue. Governor Pritzker is calling for a ban on cell phones in Illinois classrooms.
The governor proposed the ban during his state last month and repeated the call Thursday at Centennial High School in Champaign. Pritzker said cell phones are commonly cited as an impediment to classroom learning.
Other independent evaluations have shown phones increase harm to social and mental health, foster academic dishonesty, and create distractions during instruction.
Champaign Unit 4 School District Superintendent Sheila Boozer said teachers and families are pleased with new guidelines implemented this school year.
We believe this approach will help Unit 4 students enhance their concentration, reduce anxiety, and ultimately improve their overall school experience.
School districts in Springfield and Peoria have also implemented policies to limit cell phone use. I'm Chip Talamonte.
And a cool new addition to the Grand Geneva Resort. It's adding a short course golf course in 2026. The course will be named Wee Nip. We'll have 10 holes averaging about 90 yards each. Again, the new short course at Grand Geneva planned to be open in the spring next year. Kobe White had 44 points as the Bulls beat the Magic 125-123. Blackhawks go for their third win in a row when they host Utah tonight. The NHL trade deadline here as well. Teams have until 3 Eastern to make any last-minute deals. Spring baseball, Cubs surrendered 12 hits in a loss to the Royals at Sloan Park, while the White Sox lost to the Giants 7-3. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% on average. See if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
President Trump is moving at lightning speed.
Billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse.
Executive orders, new policies, promises kept. It's hard to keep up until now. Subscribe to the Trump Report. This email brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week.
The golden age of America begins right now.
It'll help you follow President Trump at the speed of Trump. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/Trump.
Meet Kelsey. When she found out she was pregnant, she wasn't sure where to turn. But after meeting with the counselors at a preborn network clinic who loved and supported her, and after hearing her baby's heartbeat on a free ultrasound, she chose life.
When a mother looks at her child through a sonogram, it does something to you. I ended up deciding to keep my son, who is now 5 years old today. He's amazing. He brings absolute joy to my heart. I could not imagine life without him.
By introducing a woman to her baby on ultrasound, a baby's chance at life doubles. If you have the means, would you consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way? Your tax-deductible donation of $5,000 will sponsor Preborn's entire network for 24 hours, helping rescue 200 babies. To donate, dial pound 250, keyword baby. You can be able to say, I help save a life through Preborn. Dial pound 250, keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/hope. Sponsored by Preborn.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the inbound Kennedy, 25 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson right now, 45 from 355 into Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State accident, 2 left lanes blocked northbound between Archer and 47. Delays as you travel along the Green Line this morning. So if you're taking that train between 35th, Bronzeville, IIT, and Roosevelt, shuttle buses are taking the place of irregular train service. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some snow at times today, 1 to 2 inches. That rain could mix in anytime. Accumulations mostly non-paved surfaces, high 37. Slippery areas tonight, clear, low 25. Sunny tomorrow, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
35 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome to the Morning Answer with John, Anthony, and Charles Thomas.
Good morning.
Charles, I should probably invite people from the Detroit crowd. What do you think about that? You like Detroit, right?
I love Detroit.
Yeah. So we're so happy to be broadcasting in 2 states right now, in Michigan and Chicago. You're listening in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer, and in Detroit, 92.7 and AM 1400, The Answer. I want to invite you guys in. Charles, as a former police officer, I never looked when I was out there on the street. If I called for backup, I didn't care what the person looked like, what the sexual orientation was. You know what I wanted, Charles? I just wanted somebody there.
Yeah.
Because I think that was more important for me than having somebody. And then there were a few people that I worked with, and I said to myself, how did they even become police officers? And I think when you see what has happened in the profession of policing, and even as firefighters, these departments have tried to diversify their departments, and I think it's proud. I think that's one of the reasons why you see so many lawsuits, especially as it relates to the policing department, because you're bringing in people who I believe don't have the skill set to be a police officer, and it hurts. It really does. I'm sure there are police officers listening right now, and they're saying, "This dude is right." When DEI was introduced, it should have never been introduced to our military. Should have never been introduced to our law enforcement profession. Now, you can have your argument about any other profession, but those are professions where you need good, qualified people.
You need good, qualified people. And, I think we want the police force to be diverse.
Yeah.
But it has to occur
skill set
organically,
yes.
Where, again, the skill set is the most important thing that happens.
Yeah.
And so be it.
Well,
but that's just the way it's got to be. But it's got to be that way pretty much for every profession.
I agree. Doctors, lawyers, all of
them. And it's happening. It's happening organically. It absolutely is happening, and America has to begin to trust itself again.
Yeah.
We've got the laws in place, so let America give it a chance to trust itself, because at some point, DEI is going to have to end.
Well, I think it's coming to an end.
We just can't. We can't go on like that forever. We have to depend on the laws in our society to support it.
Yeah.
And these things can happen organically.
Yeah.
And I think that what Donald Trump is saying at this point is that he's saying 2025 is the day that we begin to live the promise of the country.
Yeah.
Now let's see if we can do it.
Well, as you know, if you don't know, Charles, under the Biden administration, they filed a couple of DEI-themed lawsuits. Well, according to an article in Law Enforcement Today, Attorney General Pam Bondi has dismissed a number of these lawsuits as it relates to police and fire. Bondi noted that skill and dedication need to be factors when hiring firefighters and police officers rather than diversity roles, which I totally agree with. So what happens now, Charles? Joining us now to discuss this further is he's becoming a really good friend of mine, Michael Letts. He's a law enforcement veteran with over 30 years of experience under his belt. Letts is also president and founder and CEO of Invest USA, an organization that provides bulletproof vests to police officers through various sponsorships. He's also a chaplain, a pastor. My brother, Michael Letts, welcome to the Morning Answer.
Well, thank you so much, John. It's always a privilege to be with you, and I'm grateful to see that Detroit and Chicago are doing so well this morning.
Thank you, my brother. So, Michael, what does happen now with these lawsuits being tossed by AG Pam Bondi? What happens to law enforcement? Are they able to now hire as they see fit?
They're able to hire as they see fit. But we've got another issue that we're having to work with, John, as you're very well aware. Because of what has happened over the last 4 years, every agency, and I'm all across the country, every agency that I talk to, I said, tell them what your number one concern is. We can't find anybody to hire.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to become a cop anymore because of what they've heard about in the mainstream media in the past. So we've got to do two things. First of all, obviously, we can't lower standards. And here's why I say that. Folks, these professions, whether we're talking about the military, air traffic controller, first responders, have the ability to save lives and to take lives.
Yeah.
You can't keep that very lightly. So we have to make sure we have the best. It's not a matter of diversity. It's a matter of making sure we have the best people that can do the job. We don't care what their background is, as long as they're capable of handling the job and can handle the pressure that comes with it. John, you make a life and death decision in seconds.
That's right.
And you have to make sure that you have the capacity to be able to do that. So now that we are free from having to worry about, I don't have enough of this here, I don't have enough of that there, the next question becomes, how do we re-engage young people? How do we re-engage the community for them to understand this is a noble and honorable profession? You know, I was on a show, I think it was yesterday, the day before a national show. The question was raised, what makes a good cop? I said, that's a fantastic question. Let me tell you what makes the best cop that I've ever seen. It's one that has a spirit and a heart for people.
Yes.
They are more concerned about taking care of their brothers and sisters in their community, putting their life on the line willingly to do so, even if they don't get the appreciation for it, than they are about anything else. That's what makes the best cop that we can find in America. There are plenty of people out there like that, but they have been told law enforcement is not where you need to be. So we're proposing, we've asked the Trump administration for their backing and support. Of course, we have that. And we're looking to do something different, John. Here's what we're looking to do. We want to create charter public schools, high schools, all across the country, dedicated to one purpose, and that is to training America's next generation of first responders. You will come in and say, at the minimum, a sophomore, hopefully a freshman. You will, at the time of graduation, you'll have 3 tracks. You can graduate as a paramedic, firefighter, or a Class 3 law enforcement. Of course, you and I both know the difference between Class 3 and Class 1. Class 3, you can be 18. Class 1, you got to be 21. It's funny, I had somebody on the show call and say, well, you draft them, you send them to war at 18. Why can't you let them be a Class 1 at 18? I said, fair question. We'll have to debate that as a country. But they'll be able to graduate with their diploma. They'll have a 2-year associate degree as well on the same page, and they'll be fully certified to be able to be hired in any one of those professions the day they walk across the platform. That's what we need to start doing to press to the American people that, hey, we have got a crisis.
I love that idea.
We're going to help meet it that way. And this is an honorable profession. John, you've been there.
Yeah.
This is an honorable profession, regardless of what the media says.
But Michael, just a quick follow-up. I've always said when they change the description from peace officers to law enforcement officers, and they became basically a collection agency for government, that's when law enforcement shifted. Because it used to be about protecting the people of the community, bringing order to chaos. But when they changed it from peace officers to law enforcement officers, do you think that's when we saw a real big shift in how people view law enforcement?
I think you saw a shift from 2 different standpoints, John. You saw a shift from the community that these people are just simply, that we're out trying to be picky, shall we say, and exercise our authority. And you saw some cops that saw that, wow, yeah, I'm an actual law enforcement. I'm not worried about the peace. I've got an advantage, and I'm going to flaunt it. Now, quite frankly, you and I both know, John, we weed those out pretty quickly, but it still didn't not occur.
Yeah. What about money as an incentive for young people to become involved in law enforcement?
Well, I've had the administration ask me that question, and here's my response. Some people agree, some people disagree. I don't want you doing the job, John, for money, because that's the wrong motive. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I don't want you to have to work 80 hours where everybody else works 40 just to be able to keep the light turned on. So we should make sure that we're paying a decent salary, that people are able to live and support their families, A. B, there's nothing wrong with providing an incentive bonus to help you meet the expenses that are necessary to get into the profession. But if we're just saying, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000, $200,000 up front, you're going to have the wrong people applying, and I'm concerned about that.
That's true. Let's discuss this. Ben Shapiro has come out and said that he believes Donald Trump should pardon or commute or pardon the sentence of Derek Chauvin. Now, when this case first started, I was kind of hard on Derek Chauvin, but I went back and I read all the reports. I read the autopsy. I then went and watched The Fall of Minnesota. And my view shifted. I don't think Chauvin himself killed George Floyd, and that's a lot of consternation. And I know I've just made a post about it yesterday, and people are just fighting and arguing about it. Is Derek Chauvin an arseling? You know what that means in the North Heathen vernacular. Was he an arseling? Yes, but I do believe that this should have never reached the federal courts. This should have never reached it. But Ellison had motives. Keith Ellison, I think he was the AG there in Minnesota when this happened. What are your thoughts about Donald Trump pardoning him from his federal crime? That means that the state conviction still stands, though.
I think he definitely should pardon him. People say, why would you react so quickly? Look, folks, let's be very blunt. We know that there is a deliberate, attempted move to portray law enforcement in a negative light, to create organizations like Black Lives Matter and others that would go after law enforcement and our police officers, our peace officers. We know that for a fact. So they did not give any slack, any benefit of the doubt. If there was any way to stretch it, they stretched it against them, not for them. That's not a way to operate.
Yeah. And when you look at the case, a lot of people are not looking at, they didn't see the full case and how the chief lied on the stand, saying that training. I know I was trained at the Police Training Institute here at the University of Chicago with the they called it the knee to the neck is what they're calling it. Right. I was trained in that, and if you watch The Fall of Minnesota by Liz Conklin, you see that the training manual of Derek Chauvin. One of the ladies in the video, she holds up his training manual, and it's in there. There was a lot of stuff that they wouldn't allow into the case. That matters, right, Michael?
It makes a tremendous difference. And you see, I love what you just said. They wouldn't allow it into the case. I thought in this country, you were innocent till proven guilty, and you were given every affordable opportunity to prove your innocence. So why, when there's a relevant fact, am I going to say, oh, no, that one might cause a jury to think you're not guilty? You can't have that evidence admitted.
Right.
There's something wrong with our judicial system as well. I keep saying this across the country. Yes, we're working on law enforcement, our first responders, on improving that, and it's working. But quite frankly, that's only half of the problem. Yeah. The other half is we have a corrupt jurisprudence system, and we know it.
Yep. Now, last we spoke, Kash Patel, there was a talk about Kash Patel taking over the ATF. You got any update for us on that?
Kash took it, a good friend. Kash and Dan Bongino. Dan's coming on, getting off of his show. I think he's coming on this week, as I recall. And here was what is interesting. Kash came in. Now, of course, the liberal element in the Senate were trying to pin him into saying something that would disqualify him. He wouldn't say anything that would disqualify him, but he also wouldn't say anything just to tickle their ears either. Here's what's great about Kash. Kash has got a memory like an elephant. He knows. You remember, he was the chief of staff, deputy chief of staff to the Department of Defense during the first term, Trump's first term. So he had security clearance and access to all the briefings. He knows who did what and when they did it and whether it was right or wrong. And he doesn't forget. There have been those that have come up to Kash and said, okay, you're now the new director. Close the book from the past. Don't open anything there. Move forward and create a new day. And Kash's response has been, I can't create a new day if I don't make sure that we don't make the old happen, never let it happen again.
Yeah.
And he's right.
I agree. Now, let's talk about your work with being the founder, president, and CEO of Invest USA. What is it, and what are you guys trying to do to assist police officers across the country?
Well, when we first started 32 years ago, 52% of cops nationwide had no vest. Shocking statistic. We got that down to 19%. But as you remember, John, back in our days, the only thing available was a concealable vest.
Yeah.
Of course, it worked well because a concealable vest, that's the one you wear under your shirt, was designed to protect against handgun rounds. Well, back then, nobody was proud of being a criminal, so they took a pistol and hid it underneath your shirt before you committed the crime.
Yep.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about cartels, sex traffickers, terrorists. They're proud of what they do. They bring in long-range rifles, AK-47s, and as you and I both know, that'll cut right through concealable vests as if you weren't wearing one. So we had to stop 10 years ago and create new technology called active shooter vests. You throw these over the top of what you're wearing,
Yeah.
but our active shooter vests have titanium plates in them.
Nice.
They will literally stop a 50 caliber round. Of course, blunt trauma will kill you, but you'll look good in the casket because you'll be in one piece. But they'll stop anything that's out there. The problem, though, with this, Charles, is the fact that we have 90%, that's 90% of cops across the country who do not have access to this technology as of yet. But yet we are asked, these brave men and women, to put it all on the line, to go out and go after the cartels, to go after the gangs, to go after the terrorists, the sex traffickers. And, you know, quite frankly, they're better armed and better protected than our own people are. Now, that's a crying shame.
That is true. You got any events coming up with Invest USA?
We actually are getting ready to debut, and we'll send you the information. We have 2 TV shows. We have one coming up called Bulletproof Run and one called God Saves. God Saves is about officers who've been shot in the line of duty and their impact on the officer, the community, and their family. Bulletproof Run is going to be even funner. We're going to come up your way because I believe we need to do this in Chicago and Detroit, where we hold a community event. And we bring our law enforcement, our first responders out. We bring the community out. This is all televised. We bring in celebrities and stars. We challenge them. You remember the old show, The Gladiators?
Yeah.
We have, challenging courses. We just have a good time so that people can see, you know what? These people are just like me.
Yeah.
They're humans. And I think that's what's needed more than ever.
Hey, Michael, make sure you guys do the shoot, don't shoot. Bring that screen of the shoot, don't shoot. That would be great. Where can people find your website?
They go to investUSA.org. It's a charity. You'll find all this information, how you can get involved to help make sure our officers have what they need as they go out and protect our community. And you can feel a part of a great family. John, you've been there.
Yeah.
First responders are a great family. You want to be a part. You want to be a supportive.
That's so true. Michael Letts, founder, president, and CEO of Invest USA. Thank you so much for joining us on The Morning Answer.
Thank you. God bless, and God bless America.
We'll be right back.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
I'm sick of winter. When is spring coming?
Today.
Excuse me?
Just purchase your new Beauty Rest, Serta Perfect Sleeper, or Sealy Posturepedic from Hasselus Mattress today, and we'll give you a free box spring.
Okay, but I'm asking about the arrival of spring.
Oh, that's easy. It arrives tomorrow.
What?
Purchase your new Hasselus mattress today, and we'll deliver your free box spring tomorrow.
Are you the store with no employees?
Test our full line of Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and Serta Perfect Sleeper without salespeople breathing down your neck, and save a ton of cash.
How much?
Others sell a Beauty Sleep by Beauty Rest Elm Cove B Queen mattress for $16.50, but the everyday Hasselus price is just $8.42. And we have way low pricing on Sealy Posturepedic and Serta Perfect Sleeper too.
Plus a free box spring?
Yes.
Looks like spring's coming early this year.
Open 9 to 9. Find your employee-free Chicagoland showroom at Hasselus.com.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
729 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Nearly 1 month of tariff delays on most products from Canada and Mexico being announced. The president signed an executive order late Thursday that delays tariffs on all goods under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Officials say Russia targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure with a large-scale missile and drone bombardment during the night. Paris police say travel chaos from the overnight unearthing of an unexploded World War II-era bomb has now spread to the French capital's road network. Major highways are shut down, along with a section of the Eurostar trains earlier canceled. A South Carolina inmate will be put to death today, unless it's stopped by Governor Henry McMaster. This evening's execution of Brad Sigmund will be the first ever by a firing squad in South Carolina history. The always closely watched monthly jobs report will be out this morning. Most analysts believe it will show anywhere from 160 to 170,000 jobs added in February. South by Southwest kicks off today in Austin, Texas. The festival runs through March 15. Retail and pharmacy giant Walgreens Boots Alliance is being sold. The Deerfield-based company announcing yesterday it's entered into an agreement to be acquired by private equity firm Sycamore Partners. A fire on the city's north side left one person dead Thursday afternoon. Chicago fire officials say the blaze erupted around 5 p.m. in the 5100 block of North Oakley. A Chicago man already charged in multiple deaths is now charged with child sex trafficking. Brandon Sanders is accused of stabbing an HVAC contractor to death on top of a building in 2023. Investigators later found a woman's body in Sanders' freezer. A federal indictment now charges Sanders with 3 counts of sex trafficking. There may have been concerns that Sanders could be a serial offender linked to cases in many other states. Kobe White had a career night. Bulls edged the Magic 125-123. White finishing the game with 44 points.
He was in the game. Besides the scoring part of it, the leadership, the voice was great, even when we were getting maybe a little bit frustrated because it was a very physical game, and he just kept messaging the guys all the time, just focus on what we can control.
Coach Billy Donovan. Blackhawks go for their 3rd win in a row when they host Utah at the UC tonight. The NHL trade deadline is here, 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. College hoops, Missouri Valley Conference tournament is underway. A little arch madness, if you will. Illinois State beat Missouri State. Valpo took down and upset UIC. Today, Illinois State goes up against Belmont. Girls high school basketball state finals tomorrow in 3A. St. Ignatius will take on Montini. And in 4A, well, we'll find out tonight. The semifinals are tonight. Kenwood faces Alton, and Loyola Academy will battle Fremd in Normal. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
People ask us, when's the best time to replace an old furnace? Simple. Before it breaks. At Air Ride Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without heat, especially in Illinois. If you can't remember the last time your furnace was inspected, get some peace of mind by having Air Ride take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Ride Heating and Cooling today at air-rite.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Ride Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Wondering what future path your child or grandchild could take? While college is great for some, it's not the only way to build a successful, meaningful life. Skilled trades are in high demand and are full of gratifying opportunities. And getting there is less costly than college through apprenticeships and trade schools. So if your child likes working with their hands, consider the opportunities in construction, where thousands of positions are waiting to be filled. With trade schools and apprenticeship programs, you earn while you learn, providing hands-on experience, technical training, and a paycheck at the same time. Imagine no student loan debt, just a direct path to a rewarding career. Plus, skilled trades offer competitive salaries, often higher than some college grads, along with union benefits like health insurance and pensions. Steve Jobs said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." So if your child loves working with their hands, help them explore this incredible path. Construction could be their gateway to success. Learn more at the Contractors Association of Will and Grundy County's website, cawgc.org.
You can hear this today at PregerTopia.com.
It is time to take your calls on whatever, truly whatever is on your mind.
You talked a while back about the Jewish law that says that as a Jew, you are not supposed to drink wine that's poured by a non-Jew. Did I get it correct?
Correct. That's an Orthodox law. Correct.
Okay. So is that something that's in the Bible?
Hear the entire episode. It's for Pregertopia members only. Go to PregerTopia.com.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
7:36, Team Hotbird. Traffic Center time, a service of Air Ride Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited time federal rebates on a new furnace. Air Ride Heating and Cooling today, AIR-RITE, airrite.com. On the roads, Kennedy inbound, 30 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Outbound right now, 31 back out to the big airport. It's 1 hour in on the Ike from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson inbound, 50 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State northbound, disabled vehicle, left lane is blocked. Northbound between Archer and Plainfield. Then, between the Hinsdale Oasis and 47, you have an accident on the left-hand shoulder. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Wet snow or rain? Those areas that get snow may see an inch or two, high of 37. It's 35 and clouds right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Return of the Mac. Welcome back to the Morning Answer. Yeah, I won't sing. I don't want to run everybody away. Welcome back to the Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony. He's Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 reporter. Charles, you know, as two men who are Christians in here, I think sometimes we forget how there's so many people who are living the New Testament life of persecution. And as American Christians, you know, we don't suffer as most nations do. When you look at what's happening, I think you spoke about it, Charles, earlier. What's happening in Ukraine and what Vladimir Zelensky, what he's doing to the Christians in Ukraine. You look at what's happening in, I believe it was, Vietnam. With over 60 Christian refugees from Vietnam. There were men, women, and children who were arrested in Bangkok, Thailand. There's a report that there were like 70-something beheadings. I don't know how true it is in the Congo. That hasn't been verified. But all because you choose to put your faith in Jesus, Yeshua, the Christ, the Messiah. Charles, that's heartbreaking.
Well, it's heartbreaking, but, you know, and I don't want to compare anything that's happening in this country to that, because that is an extreme, but I can feel the creep of an anti-Christian attitude popping up in this country, or certainly has been doing that over the past several years, where Christians are vilified, they are ridiculed. You can say things about Christianity and about Jesus Christ that you certainly would never say against Muhammad
or any other religion
or any other faith, it's getting touch and go out there. We need certainly to reverse the trend, if you will.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so happy that there are people bringing attention to this issue. It's been happening for, I mean, the moment Christ entered the realm of the earth. I mean, think about it. This guy divided time.
No, it's prophecy, man. It's prophecy.
Yeah,
says that we will be persecuted, and you know, so it doesn't frighten me.
Yeah, because you know where your faith resides.
Well,
right?
You know, I believe in the Word, so the Word says it.
Well, you know, that's why I'm glad to be joined by Jeff Keane. He's the president of International Christian Concern and one of the world's leading experts on religious persecution. Mr. Keane, welcome to The Morning Answer. How are you?
John, hey, it's an honor to be with you and Charles.
Good morning.
I got to say, you know, wherever two or more gathered, there he is. I'm just listening to you guys, and I can feel the Lord is present. So anyways, what an honor to be with you.
Oh, my God. He just gave me chills and goosebumps.
That's what I was feeling. I can't even explain it.
It's so true. It's so true.
Because, you know, I mean, once you put the word on it, I mean, we all know that the Holy Spirit comes and dwells among us. So, and one of the things I said before I start, one of the things I do before I start my show every morning is, Lord, let me decrease that you increase. And
amen.
As I was walking up the steps, I said, God, I want you to be glorified in this conversation, because I've been waiting on this conversation. But talk to us about these 16 Christian refugees from Vietnam who were arrested on February 23rd.
Yeah, guys, these are Montagnard believers from Vietnam. And Montagnard is a broad term, but it means mountain people. So the mountain people of Vietnam, heavy Christians, a couple main tribes, Black Hmong, Red Hmong, and that just refers to the clothing they wear. But they are heavily Christian. The Vietnamese, you know, it's a Marxist government, so they persecute them heavily. And they were also tied into U.S. forces and French forces back in the day. So there's just the biggie is just the Marxist hatred and suppression of Christianity. So these people flee. And I've been up in the mountains I've been all over Vietnam, including meetings with pastors in the mountains with these guys. And with refugees like this in Thailand, where we supported them, but they're heavily persecuted, hard to even describe. But, we gathered wives and of prisoners, and they would tell you the prison tales and what their husbands are going through. It's wretched. But that's why they flee. And so the Thai authorities, once in a while, will arrest them, even though they're, it's just like in our country, a lot of them. But these guys are really facing persecution. And so they'll work as day laborers. They'll work as anything they can get to the lowest rung of society. But then from time to time arrested and being threatened to be thrown back to the Vietnamese authorities, where you can imagine what will happen.
I want to shift to just quickly to Ukraine and the fact that the Zelensky government has outlawed the largest denomination, Christian denomination in that country, which is essentially the Russian Orthodox Church. And when I think of Zelensky or the Ukrainian government having outlawed a church, and then our country supports that government, it troubles me.
Yeah, no, I get that. And just to give a little detail, that's Charles, right?
Yes, Charles.
Yeah, Charles. So little detail on that. So in Russia, the Russian Orthodox Church it's owned by the KGB. It always was. They corrupted it when they took over. And so it's an arm of the Russian government. And so there's the masses, which, believe the Lord. But for the most part, there's not as much control as there used to be, but they are controlled and they're owned. And they're going to feed back intelligence. So that's the overlay. It's not an attack on Christianity. And plus the Russian Russians have been killing evangelical or Ukrainian Orthodox pastors, kidnapping, torturing, killing them. So what Zelensky is doing is saying, hey, these guys, do not trust them, get them out of the country because they're an arm of Russia. So that's the only detail. And
that's very good. I mean, that's the kind of information that's useful, certainly. But I know that in Russia, Putin has been selling Christianity and selling the Ukrainian brand as being evil and the Western Europeans as being evil, and the righteousness of the church in Russia. I mean, he's making it almost. There's a certain religious element to that conflict. Am I right or wrong?
Well, you bring up such a great point. He is such an extreme manipulator and brilliant politician. So, everything is controlled. Any press statement is issued from basically the Kremlin. And for decades now, he's been painted repeatedly as the savior of Russia, the protector of Russia. It's Russia against the world, the evil Americans, the evil Europeans. And so it's xenophobia where, they're getting the Russians to fear the outside world, to always be on threat. And then they paint the Ukrainians as Nazis. And so this is all, to keep him in power. So he wraps himself in the flag. He wraps himself in the church. This guy is anything but a Christian. He is a mass murderer, serial killer, like any we've ever seen. He's been, he's responsible for the deaths of almost 1 million people on both sides of the war. And he will do this to the last drop of Russian blood, his own people, just to stay in power, a narcissist to the supreme.
Yeah, I remember when I first became a believer, and a couple of years later, I read the book by David Limbaugh, brother of Rush Limbaugh, called Persecution, How Liberals Are Waging War Against Christianity. And it really opened up my eyes to the assault on Christianity. So my question is, how many Christians around the globe experience persecution?
No one has the exact number. I'll give you the standard number, and it's 200 to 300 million. And, that number is not too hard to come by because you can go to China. And again, even no one knows the number there, but the Chinese church might be 200 million at this point. So anyways, there's a broad spectrum. So persecution can be what we're experiencing in our country, very light. But I think as Charles was saying, or John, maybe you, but there's a trajectory, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen something stirring. We've seen all this propaganda Look at how Christians are portrayed in the movies. It is unbelievable. It's hate speech, except it's on the screen, and it softens up the populace.
And it also makes God look weak. It makes God look like God's a weak God,
Always. And by the way, here's a quick note on that. Watch any horror film, and where is God? God does not exist in the horror film. There's only Satan. And that's kind of what you're describing, is that same play going on writ large in our culture. And, God is never held up, and we are the boogeyman. It's just what the Russians are doing, just what Putin is doing with painting the Ukrainians. It's propaganda, and you soften up the populace and get them to hate and get them to blame somebody for all the troubles. It's what the Nazis did with the Jews. So again, we're in early stages, but it's troubling nonetheless.
Jeff, what about the persecution of Christians in the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon,
Gaza,
in Gaza and the West Bank? I mean, we forget that it's just not Palestinians. It Christians as well in those areas, and they are suffering as well.
They are, and the only thing I'd say is there's hardly any Christians left in Gaza, and they're heavily persecuted there. So if you're a Christian, you stand out as a Christian, you're going to get persecuted. And I've spoken at length with martyrs' wives there, and who were killed by radical Islam, because that's who controls the place. But overall, there's a mass deportation. That's the wrong word. A mass exodus of Christians from the Middle East.
Wow.
And radical Islam is attacking in Syria. And then, in Iraq, we created a mess. Sorry to say, we came in there and broke the place. Where Christians, were protected in Syria, they were protected in Iraq. And that statement is in no ways a means of supporting or lifting up the regimes.
Yeah.
It's just that was the reality. Christians were protected, and now that is broken and gone. So Iraq is now really controlled by the Iranians. Terrible persecution. And then you've got Syria, where, thank goodness, the Russians are thrown out, the Iranians are thrown out. But now, who did we allow or even support through Turkey to take over? It's radical Islam. It's ISIS. That's who the government is in Syria now, yeah.
Jeff, what can people do in response to this, in my opinion, horrific religious persecution worldwide? And how do they advocate for victims impacted by it?
Yeah, and John, I'd say first thing, they have to follow if they care. And here's my pitch. You know why people should follow the persecuted church? And you've probably felt this. It's because they're teaching us. They are teaching us what real Christianity, what deep Christianity is. And, I came into this business, the Lord called me miraculously, and over, He kept whispering to me. He said, learn the lessons of the persecuted church and shout them to the world. So it's listen, learn, and shout, if I had to sum it up. And so that's what I've tried to do, is just tell people this is in your self-interest. They're going to teach you what Christianity really is. And so you follow, first of all, the news, and that can be from, persecution.org or one of the other great organizations out there, but just follow and watch. And then when things happen, you can call your legislature, you can send aid, but you'll always be learning. And they have so much to teach us, because each of us, we're all in prisons. Our prisons have different names.
That's true.
Anxiety and meaningless and divorce and bankruptcy and, poverty and goes on and on, but those are our prisons.
Yeah, Jeff, Jeff, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we got about 2 minutes. You guys have created a global persecution index. What is that, and where can people find it?
Go to persecution.org, and you'll see the buttons there. But it's an annual report we put out. Persecution is very global, very complex, and we simplify it, create a 100-page report for people in the government as well as journalists and the masses, so they can understand persecution.
Yeah, and you just recently wrote a devotional. What's that about, and where can people find that as well? Whisper.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, and it's basically it's what listen, learn, and shout. That's what it is. It's distilling 20 years of lessons of following the persecuted, spiritual lessons, and teaching them through the stories of what's happened. And so a once-a-day devotional for 30 days, and the transforming messages of the persecuted church.
Yeah, you know what? I think the one thing we can do, I know society tells us it doesn't work, but we can also pray. We can pray for the people that are persecuted.
Amen.
I think people just truly don't understand the power of prayer and how it really, really does work. And we have to do more of that, Jeff.
The prisoners tell us they can feel when people are praying. It's like somehow power flows and they sense it. It's a very strange phenomenon, but it's biblical.
Well, Jeff King, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, follow them on Facebook. That's International Christian Concern. They're on Twitter as well as Persecution News. They also have a YouTube page is that I Christian Concern?
We just changed it, so I don't even know. I'll take your word for it.
Well, I'm just reading from the press kit I got.
Probably right.
But Jeff, we really appreciate you giving us some of your time today, and let's pray for the persecuted church because it's real. It happens, and we got to make sure that they know that there are people outside of their sphere of influence that are praying for them. So I appreciate you coming on today.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Pleasure to be with you.
All right, thank you, Charles. It's real, man.
Yeah, it's in the book, man.
Yeah.
It's in the New Testament that you shall be persecuted in my name.
Now I know this is not something that normally happens on Chicago Morning Ashes. This type of deep faith talk. I take faith everywhere I go. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but my faith is what has brought me back from a lot of hurt, trauma, and things like that. And so I want to make sure that people know that no matter how bad life gets, get on your knees and pray. It changes things.
It changes things.
We'll be right back.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments, along with lectures, celebrity interviews, his famous Torah teachings, and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com. Pragertopia.com.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, I brought a big bag of crickets with me.
Why?
I overheard you say that M100 sectional from Penny Mustard was indescribable.
Words won't do it justice.
It's awe-inspiring.
So to maximize the impact of the M100's ability to cause reverent silence...
You brought crickets?
Yes.
I'm speechless.
Obviously.
The M100 sectional sofa, starting at just $700 a month, with only 1 penny down and no interest until August of 2026, through February 23rd at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
A little more hiring and a little more unemployment. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is in the February jobs report just out this morning.
151,000. The expectation was for 160,000. The unemployment rate goes up to 4.1%.
Fox Business Network's Lauren Simonetti. The jobs created as an increase over January hiring, which was revised lower from 143,000 to 125. Not much reaction on Wall Street. Stock futures have been up modestly after another big sell-off. The Dow has plunged more than 1,200 points this week under a dark cloud of tariff and inflation worries.
Witkoff told 150.
This is very much about companies and countries that have ripped off this country, our beloved USA, and they're not going to be ripping us off anymore.
President Trump is delaying a month most of the 25% tariffs he imposed Tuesday on imports from Canada and Mexico, saying the Mexican president is doing more to stop the flow of the deadly drug fentanyl. He blames China for sending it, and those tariffs remain in place. China's foreign minister vowed today to keep retaliating with tariffs of their own. The president also says they're making progress in talks with Ukraine to end Russia's war, though Ukraine was hit with another barrage overnight of Russian drones and missiles targeting Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, got support from European leaders at a Brussels summit.
The European Union's promised fighter jets, increased defence spending and theoretical peacekeeping troops. Around 20 countries are reportedly promising some form of assistance. Still, it's going to be hard for Europe to fill the military and diplomatic hole left by the Trump administration's hard line. Attention turns to US-Ukrainian talks taking place next week.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going to lead those talks. Meanwhile, President Trump has told Fox's Maria Bartiromo in a Sunday Morning Futures interview that he sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader, worried over Iran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. America's listening to Fox News.
35 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. We're weather watching today, and we're watching a system moving in from our west that may bring rain or snow early this morning and be a major problem for the afternoon ride home. Topping our news this morning, retail and pharmacy giant Walgreens Boots Alliance is being sold. The company yesterday announcing it's entered into an agreement to be acquired by private equity firm Sycamore Partners for about $10 billion. A crematory in the south suburbs is closed for improperly storing bodies. Officials say over 100 bodies were found in sheets and bags in trailers at the Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights. The state has since shut down that crematory. Fire on the city's north side left one person dead Thursday afternoon. Chicago fire officials say the blaze erupted in the Ravenswood neighborhood around 5 p.m. A male victim was eventually located inside and then rushed to a nearby hospital. Kobe White had a career night. Bulls beat the Magic 125-123. Kobe White with 44 points. The Blackhawks take on Utah tonight. With the NHL trade deadline nearly here, teams have until 3 p.m. today to make last-minute deals. College baskets tonight. Fighting Illini have a must-win against number 18 Purdue. While in the Missouri Valley Conference in St. Louis, Illinois State beat Missouri State and Valparaiso upset UIC. It's 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Wall Street will be reacting today to the monthly employment report for February. Shares of Walgreens Boots Alliance are up nearly 6%. The Wall Street Journal says the parent company of the Walgreens drugstore chain has a deal to be sold to investment firm Sycamore Partners, which plans to make it a private company. They plan to update the business without the involvement of shareholders. It will remain based in Chicago. Costco shares down 1.5%. Its holiday quarter was mixed. Earnings were weaker than expected, though revenue, the money it brings in, and sales topped expectations. Costco says given the volatility, it's difficult to predict the full impact of tariffs. The company says about a third of Costco's sales in the U.S. are imported goods. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosolda, invested in you.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
President Trump is moving at lightning speed.
And after that, all hell is going to break out.
Executive orders, new policies, promises kept. It's hard to keep up until now. Subscribe to the Trump Report. This email brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week.
I will put America first.
It'll help you follow President Trump at the speed of Trump. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/Trump.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Hey, you want to hear some great news? Preborn is bringing babies back to life. What you might not be aware of is that even though Roe has been overturned and abortion has been greatly restricted in many states, the abortion pill has now superseded surgical abortions, accounting now for 60% of these deaths. Preborn's network of clinics are on standby for women in their darkest hour, and when they meet them with God's love and free service to help them choose life, including a treatment that counteracts the toxic abortion pill, these life-saving and heart-changing measures, Preborn and their network clinics have rescued over 330,000 babies' lives. But the work has just begun, and every day thousands of babies' lives hang in the balance. Your tax-deductible donation of any amount is crucial in the fight and the heartbeat of our nation. Will you help us? All proceeds will go towards life. Just dial pound 250, pound 250, and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or donate securely at preborn.com/hope. That's preborn.com/hope. Sponsored by Preborn.
8:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you. 56david.com, 855-563-2843, lower.com, equal housing lender, and MLS 1124061. Stop and go traffic on the inbound Kennedy between Kimball and Lake, 40 minutes in from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. You've got a stalled semi on the Stevenson. It's on the northbound Stevenson. It's on the off-ramp to the Veterans Memorial Toll Road, I-355. Delays on the Dan Ryan in the Express, inbound between Garfield and the Stevenson, already 35, 95th into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some occasional snow today, accumulations of 1 to 2 inches. Rain could mix in at times today. Those accumulations mainly non-paved surfaces, I-37. Clear, slick spots tonight, low 25. Sunny tomorrow, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
35 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony, filling in for Dan and Amy with my good friend Charles Thomas, former ABC7 reporter. Charles, what's up, man? You okay?
Hey, man, I'm getting ready for the bell lap. Is that what they call it? The stretch run.
We're in the stretch run right now, Charles. But Charles, I don't know if you've heard about the assault that's coming on homeschooling here in the state of Illinois. It doesn't just affect, and I think what a lot of people don't understand about what happens here, not just Illinois, but I'll say probably every state house. Once you give an inch, they'll take a country mile. So if once the door has been opened up, no matter whatever the subject matter is, once you open up the door, especially the left, they will take a country mile, and now they want to put some restraints on homeschooling. Charles.
Well, you know that it's ironic that we would be talking about this bill, which was just introduced a day after, not a day after, but during the same week that the new education secretary is confirmed in Washington, given the fact that she wants to release, all these government mandates from education.
Yeah.
And here we are in Illinois going just the opposite direction. I mean, it's like the Democratic powers that be, Democrat Party powers that be are so disconnected from where the rest of the country is going and headed.
I definitely agree, Charles. And one of the reasons why I voted against even the agreed bills as related to school choice and things of that nature. Even the agreed bills, I voted against them all because my principle stands. I felt like Thomas Massey, the congressman from Kentucky, I'm not going to violate the principle that I believe in as it relates to education, as it relates to our kids and protecting our kids. And one of the greatest way to protect our kids, and I know they're talking about what happens. There's no, you don't know what's happening in a home. Kids are being molested and things of that nature. That's one of the things they always try to bring up.
But the other thing, too, is that I think we need to say what generally this bill is about.
Yeah.
It's about the state government setting regulations on families that homeschool.
Correct.
In other words, you're going to have to make reports to the state of Illinois. Yeah. And they're not that detailed. They're not telling what you must teach, and that you have to teach the whole transgender piece or anything like that. But it's a beginning.
Right.
It's like you say, the minute they get their claws set, then they will begin to tell homeschoolers what they must teach, what they must not teach.
Yeah.
All of this, and it's frightening.
You know the saying, but wait, there's more. You know, and that bill that you speak of is House Bill 2827. Joining us to discuss this and more is Will Estrada. He's the senior counsel for the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Talk to us. What is HB 2027? Because you see there's so many things that are being said both on the left and the right as it relates to House Bill 2027. Educate us as to what it actually does to homeschooling and private schools.
Absolutely, John and Charles. First off, thank you for having me on. Thank you for all that you do. So let's first set the stage. Illinois has had some of the best laws when it comes to parents' right to direct the education and upbringing of their children. This dates back to 1950, the landmark Illinois Supreme Court case People versus Levison, which established a framework for families to be able to educate their children at home. There are regulations that are involved with that, but you don't need to report anything to the government. You know, obviously, the family came first before government. The philosophical term is it's a pre-political right. So I don't really see why we would need to answer to the government, and in particular the public schools. So HB 2827 was introduced by Representatives Tara Costa Howard, Michelle Mussman,
say enough,
Kelly Cassidy. Yeah, you know who those are. It was introduced on February 6th, and it would overturn 75 years of precedent. It would establish a framework to include greater regulation on homeschools. It would require every family by August 1st of every year to file a homeschool declaration form that includes information on the child, including gender identity. And then if you don't turn that in, you're subject to a truancy charge, which, I mean, it criminalizes a vast swath of parents. It's going to disproportionately affect vulnerable communities. Truancy is no joke. This is a Class C misdemeanor in Illinois, including, upon conviction, a $500 fine and/or up to 30 days in prison. You can have DCFS remove your children from your home if you've got criminal convictions. So it's just a poorly thought out bill. And if that's not enough, it also creates the requirement that every home education family needs to have a homeschool portfolio, a record, and there's a sentence in the bill that says that this can be reviewed for any other investigation, which is so broadly written, there's nothing in the bill limiting it to just one time a year. I mean, the regional offices of education, Chicago Public Schools, the intermediate support centers could come in and literally review a family's educational progress at any time. I mean, remember where we are in Illinois. Only a third of eighth graders, according to the most recent NAEP scores, National Assessment of Educational Progress, are proficient. This bill will now make homeschool families have to answer to the government. And then one final thing, they weren't content to just go after homeschoolers. The bill also puts onerous regulations on traditional brick-and-mortar private schools. They have to collect and report to the government very detailed data on every single family. I hate registrations and reporting. There's nothing good that comes from that when you are mandated to do that to the government. And they have to now register with ISBE, the Illinois State Board of Education. So private schools are being also brought under the thumb of government control. And every single teacher or person in an administrative capacity, so the janitors in private schools, will now need to have a high school diploma.
Is there any refuge to be sought in the courts? I mean, homeschoolers, and they're not taking any money from the state. Why would the state have any right to get involved?
So that's a great question. Illinois, for all the issues on the legislation and in the laws, you do have a state-level Religious Freedom Restoration Act. I know there are large Amish and Mennonite homeschool communities, so we are looking at the option of, for certain families who are people of faith, and again, not just Christian, it can be anything, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, but for families of faith, there may be a refuge in the courts. On the other hand, I'm an attorney, and you never want to, trust in the courts to fix a problem. The best thing we can do is talk to legislators. Homeschooling is a bipartisan issue. It's not just, rich white people. It's across the board. Yesterday at the Illinois Christian Home Education Association's an annual cherry pie day on the Capitol. There were 2,000 homeschoolers who came out. They were black, white, Latino, rich, poor, urban, suburban, and they were talking to their Democrat legislators too. And we have heard, particularly the more centrist Democrats are pretty concerned with this bill in its impact on traditional private schools and its impact on homeschoolers.
Are the teachers' unions behind this bill anywhere? Do you see their fingerprints on it?
You know, that is a really interesting question. And at this point, we don't see the teachers' unions behind the bill. The interesting thing is the fingerprints on this bill are from a very small, very not well-known organization called the Coalition for Responsible Home Education. You can Google them. They're a Massachusetts-based lobbying organization. They come across as, oh, we want homeschooling to be around, just, regulated to protect kids. But they are virulently hostile to parental rights. They have a document called the Parental Rights Extremism Messaging Guide, where they say that essentially anyone who's choosing to homeschool their kids is going to abuse, neglect, put their kids under their thumb. That's how they view parents. And they are the ones who drafted this bill and who have actually been lobbying behind the scenes to legislators saying, ignore the phone calls you're getting. Those are all parental rights extremists. You need to pass this bill. So they are actually the ones who are pushing this bill.
Yeah, well, I think I beg to differ with you as far as the CTU, and because I'm looking at some of the sponsors on this bill, and these are bought and paid for by the CTU people. So that's how because I guarantee CTU is reaching out to their people to ensure that happens. I've served with some of these people that are on this list when I was in the Illinois General Assembly. But you talked about janitors having to have a high school diploma. Section 35 on page 10 requires parents to have a high school diploma or GED?
That is correct. So homeschool parents, you're absolutely correct, will also have to have a high school diploma or a GED. Now, of course, the majority of homeschoolers do, but who's this going to impact? It's going to disproportionately impact, that single mom who's working hard. Maybe she had to drop out of high school and public school in her own life, but, her daughter's being bullied in the public school. And she's like, I can do a better job at home. Grandma can get involved. That's who this bill is going to impact. And suddenly, this might seem like a minor requirement, but it's going to suddenly, for some families, particularly more vulnerable families, more vulnerable communities, make homeschooling out of reach. It is such an elitist and offensive bill, especially when there's really been no problem in Illinois. Homeschooling has worked for 75 years. The outcomes of homeschool students are off the charts. It's frankly offensive to see this bill being introduced and being pushed so aggressively.
Well, I think sometimes we fail to remember that the goal of government is to basically take over the responsibility of parenting from parents, and I think this is one of those things. But when you look on Section 30 on page 9, it requires families to comply with all public school health, medical, and immunization reporting requirements. Now, one thing I know about the General Assembly, you got to watch what words they put in there, because if this can then come back and say everybody that's in the house has to comply with this, correct? As it relates to immunizations and things of that nature.
So that's a great question. Section 30 in HB 2827, as currently written, only applies if your homeschool student is interested in participating in activities in the public school. That would be like driver's ed or sports or anything like that. And those are already fairly limited. Like sports access for homeschoolers in Illinois in the public schools is very limited. So as written, Section 30 is only going to apply if homeschoolers are coming into the public school. But you're absolutely right. It is written in such a way, and we've seen some of Coalition for Responsible Home Education's messaging. They want this to be a mandate on every homeschooler, whether or not they're coming into the public school, and every person in the family. So if HB 2827 gets passed, like you said in your opening remarks, They're coming back next year. They're coming back the year after, and they're going to put even more requirements. And then one other thing, this is on page 12 of the bill, section 905. It says the State Board of Education may adopt any rules necessary to implement and administer this act. That's about the most broadly written grant of regulation and rulemaking authority that you can see. So if this bill gets passed, even if it's not right now in the text, expect the bureaucrats at ISBE to put additional onerous regulations and restrictions on homeschool families without it ever having to go through the General Assembly in years coming.
Charles, you got a question?
Yeah, I mean, what about private schools? I mean, how are they going to be affected by this bill?
Right. So right now there are the three requirements. Number one, they will have to all register with ISBE. Currently, registration for traditional brick-and-mortar private schools is optional. Many do register, but many, particularly the smaller religious schools, we're talking the Jewish schools, we're talking some of the Muslim schools, we're talking, the Mennonite, Amish, Christian schools, they don't register. And so we've been very excited to see the Illinois Catholic Conference come out strongly, the Association of Christian Schools International, the Non-Public School Association, Illinois. We understand that the Jewish schools are talking with the legislators as well out of concern. That's the first requirement. Every school will now be mandated to register. Doesn't matter how small or large, if you're a small religious school, an Amish or Mennonite community, et cetera, et cetera. Second, and what we talked about, that high school diploma requirement, even for the janitor who's sweeping the floors. And then third, there's this significant data collection requirement that now every single private school will have. This is on page 24 of the bill, and what it says is every school will have to submit every attending student's name, date of birth, grade level, home address, the name and home address of at least one parent or guardian of each attending student, and the school shall provide this information to the State Board of Education and the Regional Office of Education.
Wow.
Again, think about the sponsors of this bill. This is a government database of every single family and child in private schools. The homeschoolers are already registered. I just don't like government databases of this sort of information.
Right. You know what? We got to leave it right there. But just in 30 seconds, this is why I want to dump the Department of Education. But how can parents get involved really quickly? You got 30 seconds.
Call your state legislators. The bill is up for a committee hearing on Wednesday, March 12th. Call them. Doesn't matter if you're public, private, homeschool. Ask them to reject HB 2827. When homeschoolers make their voices heard, they have to listen.
That is so true. Will Estrada, thank you so much for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer. Really appreciate you. I got to have you on my show, Black and Right, really soon. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday!
All right, that music means David Kolsak from turnkey.pro. David, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer with John and Charles, not Dan and Amy.
Good morning, Charles and John. Nice to hear you guys.
Good morning.
Real quick shout out to our friends at homeschools.org, which is Christian Liberty Academy. Great people. So if you're considering those homeschools, I think it's a great program, and a little plug for them. Great people.
That's Pastor Calvin, right?
Interested.
Pastor Calvin Lindstrom?
Yeah, Pastor Calvin. Yep.
I love him.
And Ben Kramer and his wife Nancy. So they're great people over there. They have a great program. It's more old school pen and paper stuff, and you do your homework, and it's great. It's a fantastic program.
Thank you.
So And I want to wish my mom a happy birthday today, as she's probably listening right now from Texas. So happy birthday, Mom. And Greg Stolot, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mom.
So I missed your watch party for Trump's congressional address as I watched it from the comfort of my couch on Tuesday, like most Americans did. The first thing that I missed was the beginning of the guy who used to remember the guy who used to yell, "Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States." That guy. I missed that guy. It was done by some woman who I think needs to work on her delivery. Right? She didn't do a very good job. But anyway, there was a lot of anticipation about what the night would bring, and you could tell it was going to be an interesting speech. When Trump finally took his place on the dais after shaking hands like the war just ended, it was a very pronounced, than it was just a few weeks ago. I remember Pelosi, or a few years ago, I should say. It's a pronounced difference. I remember Pelosi and Harris wearing their masks behind an angry Biden, and then you juxtapose that with like J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson and Trump, and that the thing that struck me about those three was that they seemed comfortable, they seemed confident, they seemed ready. And Trump delivered, I thought, was a fantastic speech. It was fun watching the nonverbal communication between the vice president and the Speaker of the House smirking at each other. And the word authenticity comes to mind, as the whole world could see. You like Trump or you don't like Trump, he's authentic and he's fearless. I especially liked when he talked about all the ridiculous Doge cuts and when he called out the Democratic Party on many occasions, openly recognizing that there's nothing he could do or say to make them happy. And then you've got the whole Al Green situation, making an absolute fool of himself. I wonder if he has a shower in his home. I mean, he needs a shower. If that's the poster boy for the Democrats, wow. And then you've got the purple-haired dragon lady, right? But no matter what you say about Democrats, right, they sure stick together. It's actually, commendable in my mind that they stick through thick and thin. They stick together. Whoever they get their talking points from is certainly not afraid to ride the bomb right into the ground, just like in the movie Dr. Strangelove. Even Stephen A. Smith, who's not exactly a conservative, called out the 22 or so politicians going on camera saying the exact same message to their constituents with the same words and phrases. They even had their little cattle auction paddles, with messages like Elon steals and save Medicaid and lies. It was just cringeworthy. The women in the chamber were all wearing pink in support of women's rights, and yet none of them voted to keep men out of women's sports just a couple days ago. But they do stick together on literally everything, and it's interesting to watch them all implode. They seem to take the opposite side of every common sense issue, and they stay there. It's amazing to watch. They're really showing their true colors after Trump masterfully trolled them, calling them out that they would never clap or stand for anything he said, even if he cured a horrible disease. They doubled down for everybody to see by sitting on their hands with their stupid paddles. At least they weren't flying Ukrainian flags. You remember that?
Yep.
They wouldn't get behind a steel worker who's been working for 27 years in the plant, raised 7 children, and foster cared for more than 40 children. They wouldn't stand for the family of Laken Riley, who was murdered by an illegal immigrant. They wouldn't stand to honor a 12-year-old girl that was murdered by illegal Venezuelans. The Democrats wouldn't stand for a widow of a fallen police officer. They wouldn't even get behind a little 13-year-old boy battling cancer with aspirations of being a police officer. That was a really nice moment, by the way, where the badge was presented to that young man as an honorary member of the Secret Service. I thought that was great. Democrats even screamed in disagreement when President Trump said that we need to solve the healthcare crisis that American children are facing. And they applauded continuing the funding of Ukraine. That was a funny moment, too, when he called out Pocahontas wanting to keep going for another 5 years. So they've shown themselves to be who they are, which is essentially taking the 20% side of basically every issue. And it's an ugly look. I can't imagine being someone on the left, a voter, that's going to get behind any of that behavior. If the Democrats were really truthful, their signs, their little paddles should have said things like, America last, I love war, I steal from American taxpayers, I voted against women, I don't know what a woman is, and illegals first. And then the House censured Al Green yesterday for his behavior, and the Democrats doubled down again by disrupting the business on the floor of the House. They literally stood in front of the dais, disrupting the voting and making a scene, singing, "We shall overcome." I hope it's the end of the Democratic Party forever, but despite all those interruptions and negativity, Trump delivered a great, hopeful message of common sense and a hopeful message for a brighter future. So it's hard to imagine the average American enjoying any of those optics that they have loudly displayed. So as they say in the funeral business, let's hope this is the final nail in their coffin.
Oh,
have a great weekend, guys.
Take care. David Kolsak from Turnkey.pro. He's right, man. He hit on a lot of good points, Charles. Charles, what's your open mic Friday?
My open mic?
Yeah. What do you want to say?
What do I? Hey, look, I'm looking at some other people lined up to talk.
Oh, you don't want to talk to me?
Yeah,
you've talked to me for the last 3.5 hours. You don't want to talk to me anymore?
I mean,
That's okay.
This is Open Mic Friday, right?
I'm done with you. Somebody on Twitter said that the station needs to put us together on a show and call it "Want to Be Starting Something."
Want to be starting something?
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I remember.
All right, let's go to the Irish Prime Minister, Kevin. Kevin, you there?
Guys, how are you?
Doing well.
Okay, Kevin.
I've got a strange piece of knowledge I learned from Amy when she was in high school. She wanted to be a feminist, but her boyfriend wouldn't let her.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Is that it, Kevin?
That was cryptic.
I'd like to ask the wonderful John Anthony a question. I don't know if he'll have the answer, but this is sort of a trivia test. Are you up for it?
Let's go.
What does Elizabeth Vargas, you know who she is, right?
Yes.
What does Elizabeth Vargas, Jim Lehrer of the news anchor of the public television, what do Elizabeth Vargas, Jim Lehrer, and 100 winners of the excellence in journalism that we'll call the Pulitzer Prize, and Brad Pitt, what do they all have in common with Charles Thomas?
Oh, I don't think they have anything because Charles was a real journalist.
I think I know.
Go ahead. What is it, Charles?
What does Brad Pitt, what does all these
how about
Pulitzer
this?
Prize,
Jim
Lehrer and Elizabeth Vargas, what do they have in common with Charles Thomas?
I'm going to throw a lifeline out there. Charles Thomas.
Mizou.
Missouri?
Yeah.
That is exactly correct. The preeminent school of journalism in the United States. Charles, is that true or false? The preeminent journalism
Absolutely. The first school of journalism, and continually the preeminent, although the people at Northwestern, they make a lot of noise about themselves, but they're more elitist. They have the elitist thing going on at Northwestern. We were pretty much salt of the earth at Mizzou. Common sense, Missouri.
Are they still that
show
way?
Me.
Are they still that way though, Charles?
I think so. I think we are more salt of the earth at Mizzou. Although I wonder what these journalism schools all over the country are turning out now.
Yeah.
Because we're getting a steady diet of this woman on CNN. I can't
Joy
remember.
No.
And then Joy Reid, and your Don
Caitlin
Lemons,
Collins.
and all these, all these people that are opinion journalists as opposed to reporting facts.
Yeah, let's go back to the phone line. Cynthia from Palos Park. Welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, guys, John and Charles.
Hey.
I was listening to all the chitter chatter about homeschooling. I'm a former homeschooling mom. We were that weird family in the 90s whose kids were always home from school. And they tried to, at that time, pass a law that the local PTA had to approve our lesson plans. And so what all of us homeschool moms did is we packed up our kids and we walked into the offices of our local legislators. Mine was Dan Lipinski, if you remember him back then.
Yes.
And we said, here are our children. Feel free to ask them whatever you want. And when we left, he said he had never met such well-spoken, polite kids in his life, and and as a Democrat, he voted in our favor.
Nice.
So I'm telling all these homeschool families out there, don't just write letters or call. Pack up those kids and take them in, and let these people meet your children and see how successful you are.
That's true. Thank you, Cynthia.
I got 5 grandkids who are being homeschooled, and they are incredible. Right there at home. I tell you, and I can imagine getting the same people, the same system that graduates young people reading at 4th grade level. That same system wants to get involved in homeschooling. That cannot be allowed.
Charles, I love teaching. I tried to be a homeschooling father. It's tough. It's a really, really tough job. I tried it for, I think it was 6 months, I believe it was. Yeah, that's when I was a stay-at-home dad. Man, that was like, what the heck am I doing? I'm telling you, it's a really tough thing to do.
I'm sure, but hats off to those who do it. And they do it so well.
That's why I support them.
And those that want to do it so well because, hey, those are your children.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go to Rich from Indian Head Park. Welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, John. Good morning, Charles. How are you guys doing this morning?
Well.
Good.
What I wanted to say to sum up what Dave had to say earlier is that the Democrats have shown the American people how much they really hate this country and the people in it by all of their actions on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The only thing that they were worried about was Ukraine.
Yeah.
And that's all they responded to, which to me should tell everybody that there shouldn't even be a Democratic Party if you have people representing you the way they did.
Yeah.
Thanks, and you guys have a good weekend.
Thank you. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the show, Charles. It's a blinding hate for Donald Trump that they couldn't stand, and even applaud for a young kid who survived cancer. Do you know there's a video of young DJ going around where he was bullied? I think it was last year. Kids were bullying him because he was dressed as a cop. And to not stand for that. I mean, to not stand for Laken Riley. Charles, you couldn't put it in, you couldn't muster the strength or the will to look beyond your hate for Donald Trump and stand for those people at least?
And the fact that they would applaud for Ukraine tells you about the flow of money through the Congress and how many of them are taking money from the defense industry or some aspect of it, and that's what's happening. And they love this war, this perpetual war business, the swamp. And that includes a lot of Republicans who do the same thing. But that's one of the things that Donald Trump, I think, is putting an end to, is this whole K Street business with the lobbyists and how they're funneling the money to the lawmakers who become millionaires in a very short period of time. I think I read somewhere that AOC, who's only been in for 2 or 3 terms now, that she's a multimillionaire.
Yeah. I wonder how. Yeah, let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to Glenn from Orlando. What's up, Glenn?
Yeah, hey, guys. I got a couple things here. Number one, listening to education, if you're an educated person, you can never be a slave to the government. So that's why the government wants to dilute education.
Yep.
So also, I believe Pritzker signed the Illinois bill, House Bill 5164, which allows people to change their names silently in rapid time with little fees. So, if you're a person that's bad, doing bad things, you can change your name easily. It's promoting evil is what it's doing. But I think he signed it.
Is that for all Illinoisans, or is that only for illegal immigrants?
I think it's all Illinoisans. 5164 is the House bill. So, I mean, I looked at it. I couldn't believe anybody would sign this or put it through, but I think they did. And then the last thing is I would petition the American Medical Association to classify the Democratic Party as a mental disorder.
What's his name? What was the guy that liberalism is a mental disorder? Savage. That's what he called.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Glenn.
Right.
Appreciate the call, man. Let's go to... I can't stand this guy. Tom from Blue Island.
Charles, good morning.
Good morning.
You're an excellent Chicago radio host.
Oh, really?
As for Kids Smooth. There's a movie from the late 80s called Next to Kin that stars Patrick Swayze and Liam Neeson, where... they're both country guys that end up in the city, and Patrick Swayze's a cop, just like Johnny was, an erstwhile cop. And he's trying to look out for his brother, and they get in a fight, and Patrick Swayze has to hear from his brother, Liam Neeson, that you ain't country anymore. You're just a cop that came from the hills. Well, I hate the Detroit Red Wings. I hate the Detroit Pistons. Bill Laimbeer is the biggest punk to ever play basketball. The Detroit Tigers won the World Series in 1984. They would have lost to the Chicago Cubs if the major leagues didn't take away the Cubs' third home game that they should have gotten because they didn't have lights. And I just want to ask Pitt Smooth, and if any of his Detroit listeners are out there, are there still packs of wild dogs running around the city?
Oh, yeah. You know, the thing about Detroit
Shoo away.
You know, you go to Detroit and you can't just hang out in the city.
Yeah.
Because it's just too dangerous. So in order to be in Detroit, you got to be with Detroiters.
Yeah.
You got to be in their home.
Yeah.
You can't go out.
Yeah.
You got to be in their home. So it's a different feel to that town.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very personal. You just can't go to Detroit and go to Rush Street or go to you know, wherever. Go downtown. Go to Mag Mile. No. They don't have anything like that. You got to go home, and they got to put the you know, the stew on and home
They took
cooking.
good care of you up there.
Yeah, they take good care.
Yeah, I got a lot of family up there. Let's go to Eduardo from Tampa Bay. Eduardo, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, guys. Well, I just heard Terry Savage yesterday, the R word. I'm afraid that's going to be a big talking point this weekend with the talk shows over the weekend. So the president hopefully will be having a better messaging on the economy and the tariffs. Otherwise, next year, you know, Congress is going to be on the hook. And you know what's going to happen when the first thing they're going to do if the other side gets in, and that's the I word, impeach.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's be ready.
But Eduardo, listen, one thing I understand about Trump and his tactics as it relates to negotiations. Trump makes it's not about what he says, it's about what he does. And he'll say something, but guess what it does? It brings him to the table. I mean, listen, this is what he had to say about the EU's coming to the table about the EU tariffs.
European Union trade representative. The European Union has signaled that they would lower tariffs and do a trade deal with the United States.
Yeah, the European Union wants to come back. They've treated us very badly, and the European Union wants to lower their tariffs because of the fact we were paying a fortune of tariffs. We couldn't sell a car there. We couldn't sell our farm products there. They wouldn't take anything. Now all of a sudden they're being very nice, and that's going to happen with a lot of us.
Well, see, guess what? Guess who came to the table? The EU. You know why they came to the table? Because Trump walks with a big stick and he's not afraid to whack you with it.
Yeah, and now they're scrambling for their own strategy and how to fight Ukraine on their own.
Yeah. Thanks, Eduardo.
Hey, what do you guys think about Rahm Emanuel before I go? Rahm Emanuel, what do you guys think about
that he's running for Senate?
Planning for the party?
That he's running for Senate?
No, I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be helping the Democrats pick the next presidential candidate. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, please let him.
Oh, well, you know,
Thanks, Eduardo.
There's nobody in this country who knows more about the presidency than Rahm Emanuel. He worked for Clinton as a top advisor.
Obama.
Then he, of course, won the House for the Democrats in 2006. Then, of course, he was the chief of staff for Obama. I mean, this guy's been around the block.
Yes.
I mean, he has a lot of technical knowledge about what's going on. His politics, you know, we can do without. But Rahm, don't underestimate Rahm.
I agree, but I don't think the Democrats have the chameleon candidate like an Obama that's out there right now. Gavin Newsom is not it.
Not it. Definitely.
They don't have that chameleon that Obama was. Obama was able to go in rooms and become whatever was in the room. Obama knew how to become that.
Do you think Rahm would run for U.S. Senate?
That's interesting. I think he's running for U.S. Senate. I think he's thinking about it at least. How about that?
He's got to be thinking about it. But I think Raja.
Yeah.
Is it Krishnamurti?
Yeah.
Yes,
Raja, according to his commercials.
Yeah, he definitely is in the game. And I've also heard that this Juliana Stratton is playing with it.
And Lexi's looking at the mayor, right?
And who's that?
Alexi.
Well, yeah, he probably could be looking at it as well. And of course, JB, your governor.
JB has higher heights. I mean, he has his.
Really?
I think he wants to be president.
You think so?
That's why JB has built. When you look at how much money he spread around the country, he's built the infrastructure, and I think a lot of people didn't realize what he was doing sending that money across the country. He's building an infrastructure to run for president.
But the man has accomplished absolutely nothing.
Do you have to do that as a
He's into
Democrat?
gambling. He's got a lot of gambling going on.
What did Kamala?
A lot of
What did Kamala?
recreational weed and a lot of abortion.
Okay, what did Joe Biden accomplish? What did Kamala Harris accomplish?
Nothing.
Do you have to be accomplished to run as a Democrat? No. You just have to have that D in front of your name.
Oh, man.
Let's go to Don from Naperville. Don, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning. The Illinois Assessment of Readiness scores for 2024 showed that only 34.6% of fourth graders were proficient in reading. So the question is really, when you're looking at what the data is showing, why are we going after homeschoolers? Why aren't we looking to improve reading scores? And I'm not even getting into what the low income or children with special needs scores are. That's just all fourth graders altogether in Illinois. But I wanted to let everybody know that there is a bill that the Illinois Early Literacy Coalition is trying to push forward, another one to improve teacher professional development so that they are trained to teach children how to read. And I will tell you, Charles, I want to thank you so much for asking that question about the teachers union. They are not in favor of this bill. As a matter of fact, that coalition that the attorney mentioned, that he's saying they're from Massachusetts, there are parents from Massachusetts that are suing that state because of curriculum that is not teaching children how to read, the whole word reading approach. So, it's a big problem, and I think that we need to address it. I'm not saying that destroying the Department of Education is the right thing to do, because if you have a state that's not very well run, you don't want more power going to the state, not if there's no accountability. But I think that to look the other way and to ignore the problem like that's happened with decades is not good either. And I would like to also thank Dan for bringing up the story of the student from Connecticut a few days ago who is suing her school district because she graduated and she never learned how to read or write. As a matter of fact, the video I saw, she couldn't even spell her name.
Wow.
And she had an IEP. She said she had dyslexia. And here's the thing with the IEP. They are supposed to be getting specially designed instruction. So it doesn't even matter what laws the state has as far as making sure that there's dyslexia screening. We have the federal law. So she should be getting specially designed Orton Gillingham type of instruction so she can read. So what good does the Department of Education do if they're not holding accountability when we have these federal laws? If they're not going to make the school districts do what they're supposed to do, what good does the Department of Education do? If someone can please explain to me.
That's why I wanted it
Thank you so
abolished.
much.
Thank you so much, Don. That's why I'm totally in support of abolishing. Let's go to George from Naperville. George, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, good morning. It's been in the news that Hunter's been on hard times and his paintings aren't selling. I'd wonder if he'd consider some representational work and do some paintings of his father suffering from dementia. He could donate it, like I said, part of the proceeds to that disease. And who wouldn't want a mean old white man looking back at him? It would go perfect with a lot of decor.
Thank you, George.
Man, who needs a Hunter Biden painting when you don't have the big guy to get his cut?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Who needs it?
Yeah. I wonder what the value of those paintings are now. You pay $500,000 for a painting, and it's worth $100 now.
Well, but the big guy got a cut.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Hey, Owen from Willowbrook.
Hey guys, 2 quick points. The Dems put out a video. AOC and some Democratic women put out a video showing them, fighting. I would have liked to see them actually fight some transgenders. That might have been worth watching. The other thing I think is, I got a question for you, is what do you call all the House of Representatives on the Democrat side and in the Senate, and all the lamestream media people on MSNBC and CNN if they were buried up to their necks in sand? What would you call that, guys?
I don't know. What would you call it, Owen?
Not enough sand.
Ooh. Thanks, Owen. Let's go to Kip from Stillman Valley.
All right, thanks for taking my call. Hello there, Michigan listeners. Let me get right to it. What I heard from Snuffleupagus this morning is that Donald Trump's using his power to go against his political enemies, concerning taking the security clearance away from Perkins Coie.
Yeah, I saw
Maybe it's starting to focus on the Obama before he became senator in Illinois. The people that have been in charge of government since before Obama was president. You know, the DNC, the lying, cheating, corrupt people that they are. And hopefully they got their finger on the pulse of who everybody's protected. And that's Obama. I'm going to hang up. I hope you guys continue this on tomorrow's program. Thanks. Bye.
All right, take care. Kip kept hitting that. The phone was a little too close to his face. Tim from Woodstock.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, John. And,
good morning.
Charles.
Good morning.
Good to speak with you. Hey, I just wanted to get maybe a little bit of your perspective about what I perceive. I feel like I kind of zeroed in on something that bothers me about people like Jasmine Crockett and others like her that I would describe as kind of a spirit of ungratefulness. As if there's nothing to be grateful for about their country. There's nothing good you can say about a white man. I mean, I think it's a terrible distortion of history, and it paints a dishonest picture of our country to pretend that there's nothing good that has come from a white man that they can't be somewhat a little bit thankful for. And that's not to dismiss, the horrors of slavery. But we've had a couple hundred years now, and good white men laid their life down. Some, not all, but many did to fight slavery.
Yes.
And I think, John and Charles, don't you think that maybe it puts a very poisonous. This is a very poisonous idea to put in the minds of young black, particularly men, who we know only 38% of black homes right now have a mom and dad in the home. So you already have an angry young man. And then you put this poisonous idea in their minds that there's nothing to be grateful for. And I don't know. I guess I'd just like to hear your thoughts on
Charles, that's a good point.
Well,
Thank you so much, Tim.
Victimhood is out of style right now in America. And, America's different. It's a different place than it was certainly 100 years ago, but even 50 years ago. And, this whole DEI business, I mean, Asian Americans are absolutely against DEI, and there are more Asian Americans. If you look at East Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, then you look at South Asian, Indians, and even further south, and then West Asians, Arabs, and such. When you think of all those groups, it's more of them than there are black people.
Yeah,
and they don't support DEI, generally speaking. They're not dependent on DEI.
But Charles, I think it's even deeper than that, though. I think it's first of all, it's a lot of it is an act, because what does it do when you get yourself out there? When it comes to the DNC convention, you get a higher speaking role. You're able to raise a lot of money off of whatever the act that you're doing. Especially when you look at just how mean these people are, Charles. I mean, he's right. The spirit of ungratefulness. They're so mean-spirited.
But it's basically, again, profiting and politically profiting off of the pain of of history.
Yeah.
You're not dealing at all with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
America has done an incredible job in terms of integrating itself, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't finished. They got ways to go. But, man, can't we celebrate how far we've come?
Yeah. Let's go to Bob from Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, John and Charles. Always love to hear you guys paired together. You kind of broached the subject when you opened it up today. Where are the black leaders in the STEM professions? We just celebrated Black History Month, but buried in February is also the celebration of engineering called Engineers Week. And I'm just wondering how much of the black history in STEM was mentioned.
Yeah, that's a good
I mean,
question.
it's unbelievable how, the inventions, the engineering that's buried in the black culture, but nobody ever references it. And when I talk to children, I say, you got a better chance of becoming an engineer than bouncing a basketball or throwing a football.
Yeah, good point. Thank you so much, Bob. Let's go to Kevin in Austin.
Good morning, fellas. I'm curious, what is your view of the state of the conservative movement in Illinois in the black community? Now, the vote, it seems like the votes were a little bit more on the right side, but after Trump's election, do you see it still growing?
I do.
Definitely growing.
I do, Kevin.
And as somebody who's listening, who agrees with you and wants to get involved, what do they need to do? Who do they need to contact locally in Illinois?
Well, that's a good question because there is no leadership structure here yet, though, in my belief, Kevin. But I do know that Flip Chicago Red with Jessica, Danny, and Zoe and those people, they are doing great things. Thanks so much, Kevin. Should we go to Chuck right now? Is it time for Chuck from Delavan? Let's go to Chuck from Delavan.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well, brother.
Big shout out to Mike from 5 Star Painting. He's painting my dentist's office in Aurora right now, and so anyway, and then big thing this weekend up here at the Tristan Magic Show. Come on up. I watched him a year ago. He made a lady that had a heart attack disappear into an ambulance. And so she disappeared in an ambulance, and so it was pretty exciting for the show. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Chuck. Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much for joining me today, man.
Hey, man. I love what you're doing because we're searching for a new America.
Yeah.
A new vision of the country.
Yeah.
And it's happening in Washington. But it's also happening right here in Chicago.
Yeah, and
because we're looking for a new vision,
a
new vision for this country, and we're going to trust.
Yeah,
we're going to trust each other as Americans.
Well, thank you to Quinn McCarthy, producer extraordinaire, and Justin Coxey, the technical producer. Guys, I hope you tune into my show tomorrow, Black and White Radio, from 4 to 7 p.m. And to Biggie, my producer in Detroit, in the Detroit audience, we thank you. Now onto the newsroom, Mike Scott.
Walgreens is being acquired by a private